As presented by the Bennington Show and the Interrobang.
It's so exciting. Everybody is out here in Midtown overlooking Times Square. Gail, your gown is beautiful.
Oh, thank you so much.
Mine, not so much. Should have probably had the back done before I wore this one.
You know what? But you're very on trend right now because big sleeves are in this year. And boy, the length on your sleeves are incredible.
The Big Sleeves was the nickname I used to have for our buddy Sleeves. Yeah, big sleeves. Look at this big guy. La 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 la. This is exciting, and I just want to say to all the comedians, it's a honor just being nominated.
Yes, we have a lot of great comedians, great comedic TV shows and movies that are nominated. And really, you're all winners just for being here.
You know what? I just found out that was a silent H. So I'm not that, okay. My native tongue, Portuguese. A lot of big stuff. Make sure you go to the Interrobang and vote. This is the last day to vote.
Oh my goodness.
Tomorrow we will be live on the air and telling you just who the inners are.
So make sure you head over to the Interrobang, get your vote in today. It's your latest day to do it. And this is the year in comedy.
Here are the nominees for Best Comedy Special of the Year.
Best Comedy Specials of 2023. Shane Gillis, Beautiful Dogs. Nate Bargatze, Hello World. Marlon Wayans, God Loves Me. Big J. Okerson, Dog Belly. Jessica Curson, No Material. Sarah Silverman, Someone You Love. Kathleen Madigan, Hunting Bigfoot. Mark Norman, Soup to Nuts. Joe List, Enough for Everybody. And Hari Kondabolu, Vacation Baby.
That is quite the list, Gail. And you remember, years ago, we would pick 10 because 12 specials would come out. But this year, I think there was 450 specials.
There's so many. So many.
Including the YouTubes, including some people just driving down the street in their car, aiming at the phone at themselves. I mean, I'm not even sure what a special is these days. Before we get into what our own personal picks would be, let me just read off some of the past winners of this. 2014 was Jim Jeffries. Jim Norton was the next year. Barry Crimmins won the year after then. Then the great Judah Freelander. Gad Elmaleh, or whatever the hell his French name is.
Gad Elmaleh.
That can't be it.
It
that
is.
Cannot possibly.
I assure you, it's Gad Elmaleh.
I feel like he should have been up for Best Foreign Language Special. You know what I mean? Just a throwaway. Dan Soder, Son of a Gary. Mark Norman, Out to Lunch the next year. Then Shane Gillis in a shocker live in Austin. Nobody expected that to go as big as it did. And then last year was Chris DiStefano, Speshy Weshy, which I'm going to be honest with you. If somebody asked me when that came out, I would have said 3 months ago. I had no idea. It was last year. Time has no meaning to me anymore.
No, time is a flat circle. I know that.
Wow. I didn't even think of that. Wow.
I say it, but I don't think I understand what it means either.
I know. Earl gets everything, and sometimes I sit with him at night, and he explains time to me. All right, when we go over this, all deserving specials, right?
Yes.
And probably at least 50 more that could easily went into this list, and nobody would have fought.
I agree. There were a lot of really great specials this year, and this is actually going to be the 10th ever winner. So I feel like that's a special spot to have.
Is that right?
Mm-hmm.
10.
10 years.
Holy shit. All right, let's let's go to Earl first. Earl Douglas, if you were king of the universe, okay, if you had been made a Mormon god and this was your planet, and you got to alone pick your special of the year, who would it be?
It would be Dog Belly, Big J. Okerson. Because
Nice.
that's a nice call for you.
Yeah, really good call.
I mean, because first of all, it was recorded at Skankfest, so he's totally in his element. It was done in Vegas in April of 2022, and he's just going.
But if it was somewhere else, you feel like, that's not his element. Let's say if it was somewhere that wasn't Skankfest.
I mean, he's funny anywhere. I mean, he could be funny anywhere,
Okay.
but there's such a comfortability. And
is he uncomfortable most places, would you say? Jay doesn't seem like he comes out a little hesitant. It's like, I don't know if this is going to be funny. I don't know, but luckily this is Skankfest.
Accept me.
but when
I kind of feel like he's a fearless comic, girl.
he's totally fearless because he's just saying things. When he's working the crowd, he's just saying things that are just so filthy and awful.
Oh, my God.
But I mean, not
Filthy and awful?
But
I'm very surprised where you came with this. First of all, I never thought of him as a filthy and awful guy. As a matter of fact, I would say this. I would say Jay easily top 3 most likable personalities that are doing comedy today.
He's such a teddy bear, such a sweetheart, and I just adore him.
Unbelievably fast, unbelievably funny, and goes to a spot that most people wouldn't even think of. So, Earl, I appreciate you picking Big J. I just don't like what you had to say about him. I think he's a good American citizen. Gail, let's go with you. Who do you got?
Okay, so this is one that I was not expecting to love the way I did. For me, the best special of 2023 is Marlon Wayans' God Loves Me. I was so blown away with how funny and well put together this special is. The whole thing is pretty much focused around Chris Rock, Will Smith, and the slaps aftermath. And it is the special that Chris Rock should have done. If you remember Chris Rock in his special, he kind of brings it up towards the end. It feels very half-assed. It didn't really answer any questions or say anything or have any funny takes. Marlon Wayans, he picks apart this whole thing in such a hilarious, funny way, and not just what happened in the moment, but just kind of the aftermath and everyone's reactions and what it meant. And he put this amazing spotlight on it, and I thought it was so well put together, and I was just floored by it. I was really, really laughing hard and really impressed with just kind of like the artist touch that he had to this special.
I couldn't agree with you more. And honestly, I've never agreed with you before.
I know, this is a first.
I know.
Honored.
But I have to tell, I don't know what platform this came out on. It was one of like
It was on HBO Max, I believe, is where it was released.
When he was doing this, all the magazines and even news shows were trying to figure out the stuff that he just laid out for you. You know what I mean?
Perfectly. Yes.
So somebody should have just said, look, thanks for tuning into the news tonight. I know that you're wondering why Will Smith got up at the Oscars and smacked Chris Rock. I know that you must know that there's some history here. And Marlon Wayans gives it all to you, like an anthropologist, except for in real time.
In real time, he is picking apart a pop culture historical moment and putting also his own relationships with the people in the mix, and keeping it really, really funny. And then, you know, some of the takes he had might be one that you had as well, and he expands on it, or he enlightens something that you hadn't thought. You know, at this juncture, we had all talked about it and thought about it for weeks afterwards because it was just one of the most shocking, you know, kind of TV moments. But I was so impressed with the way he did it. And I don't mean to be comparative, but I just kept thinking, if I was Chris Rock, I'd be pretty embarrassed how well he handled this, because that easily could have been Chris Rock taking a whole hour to talk about that, and we would have ate that up.
if Chris Rock would have done this special, they would have given him some kind of special award for it. You know what I mean? He probably would have gotten a special Oscar. But this is what I love about Marlon Wayans explaining this to us and how far back it goes. And the fact that, he high school. You know what I mean? Like, this is high school shit, but not a 1A high school, you know?
Right.
A small high school where the football team has to play both ways. You know what I mean? Like, they're going, I don't know if we can get enough together to play baseball this year. Right. We're going to need 2 more kids.
Something else I'll say about this special, too, is the way he puts it all out, the energy level he brings to this topic. He was like, it was like a physical event.
Yeah, he's great.
You know what I mean? Like, he was just so committed to it. There was nothing that had that kind of like lean back, holier than thou, like kind of like too cool for the topics situation. Right. He was just he threw himself into it, and you could see that the audience just reacts so incredible to that level of dedication and performance. So I was blown away, and again, I was not expecting it.
All right, I'm going to do my pick now.
Okay.
And I want to make sure that I have the timing correct on this. But, and this, I mean, I could have picked anybody in this, but because of what's happening now to this person's career and when this special came out and how he went from like probably A-list to super A-list in the time after this special. And a couple of years ago, I would say this gentleman wasn't even on the list. And he has exploded. And that's Shane Gillis. Shane Gillis has become just one of the biggest comics, not only today, but maybe that ever lived. You have to start and put a guy who's selling out these venues and then adding to these venues, you know, okay, now we're going to put we're going to put up Radio City up a second night. Oh, that's sold out. Let's do it a third night. Oh, that's sold out. I mean, it's just incredible what's happened with him. I did Unmasked with him this year, and I was backstage with him as 3 Radio Cities sold out, and he was getting the news. And it's great, but you see it in his eyes like, oh my God. You know what I mean?
Right.
And he's like,
overwhelming.
I'm going to be honest. I'm going to pull the curtain back. He goes, this isn't an easy room to work. You can't even hear yourself up there. And the stage is enormous. The stage is like 2 football fields. And it's true. I mean, these things, it's so cool to get them. And then you're like, how am I going to do it? And that's where Shane is right now. Beautiful Dogs was, and you know, the thing that I said about Jay being likable, just look at the way the crowd looks at Shane, or he just says something that would be up to the edge, but you see the grin that he's just having fun with it. So it could be anybody, but I picked Shane Gillis, Beautiful Dogs. Now, this is the part where Chris Stanley would normally pick, and Chris has given me an envelope to open up. This is a sealed envelope, so I'm going to open this up and announce what Chris Stanley, what his pick is.
Oh, there it is. You really got that thing in. Okay.
Some of this is duct tape. Some of this is duct
Chris, it's not that serious. Why would he pack it? Oh my God, it's still not open.
Okay. Chris, I do have his envelope here open almost in an expert fashion. Mm-hmm. But Chris has written on his card, I'm really drunk. I'm not sure what this is for. But I have Mark Norman Soup to Nuts.
Wow.
Mark Norman Soup to Nuts. Now,
gets the Stanley bump.
Here's the thing. I don't want Mark to take this the wrong way since everyone else's special got, expounded upon, and Chris was too drunk to even know what he was voting for.
Yeah.
But Mark Norman belongs here. Also, another one of these people. It's just about the entire list whose careers are exploding right now. And I can tell you now, I never remember comedy being as hot as it was this past year.
So true. It really, really was. And so many of these specials not only are great, but just had explosive reaction and just so much love, tremendous amount of love for each of these.
And if for some reason, I don't know, it's because we're coming out of the pandemic, but I feel like people would rather go out to a comedy show than a rock or hip-hop show. Now, Taylor Swift's still ahead of the pack.
Sure.
But she's funnier than people think. You know what I mean? And like Mark Norman, she changes outfits during the show.
Right. And that's important to keep the audience excited.
You got to. You give them a new outfit to look at, and they're going to put into it. Okay, that's our 4 picks, but we will tell you that means nothing. Our votes have the same weight as your vote. So go to our social media, go to the Interrobang, click it, vote early, vote often. There's going to be tons of things that you can vote for this year. And we hope that you do it because it means a lot to some of these people. Other people, it just doesn't matter at all to them. I'll be honest with you. I mean, this is just another accolade for some of these folks. All right. But also, again, Big J Okerson, not disgusting, not hurtful, not mean. Earl was confused. But that is your top 10 nominees for Comedy Special.
Don't forget to go to theinterrobang.com to vote every day.
Here are the nominees for Best Comedy Movie of the Year.
Top 10 comedy movies of 2023. Asteroid City, Old Dads, Bottoms, You're So Not Invited to My Bar Mitzvah, Barbie Movie, The Road Dog, and Tapawingo.
Ooh. I was very, very happy to see Chad Duke's movie.
Me
Tapawingo.
too.
That comes in late. That comes in late because that just came out a little while ago. But had a ball watching it and very, very happy for Chad. When we were talking about like specials, we're like, how many specials that there were this year, right? But when it comes to the comedy movie, something that America has embraced for a long, long time, I feel like there was less that came out this year than probably any time in my life.
I think this was maybe the topic that was the biggest struggle for the Interrobang to put together. There was not a ton of comedy movie releases this year. Not a ton.
No, and I don't know. I mean, why would they say, okay, stand-up is a big ticket seller, but then Hollywood would not trust in the fact that they could get a bunch of people going to the theater.
That's very true.
To see a movie. And I know, like, I went to see a Burt's movie in the theater, and then I was surprised how quickly they put it, into streaming, because this was like a big fun comedy movie, the kind that I grew up on. I heard one lady go like this: "Is he ever going to put his shirt on?" I go, "Come on, ma'am. Okay."
No, he's not, by the way.
People love his shirt off. I just want to go over the prior winners that we had. This is 10 years in, and it's hard to believe that Trainwreck, My Name is Dolomite, Deadpool, the Gilbert Gottfried doc.
Oh, that was a great one.
My Name is Dolomite again. Deadpool again. Borat 2, Coming to America, and 4th of July. Now, I may have some of these wrong.
This is strange.
I might have a paper that is not right, but I will get a text on it. Look, Chris Stanley's been through a lot.
Yeah.
Okay?
He has.
There's a lot going on in his life, a lot of difficult things in his life, and he's decided to deal with it head on using alcohol. So he's going to make the occasional mistake.
That's going to happen.
But let's get into this year's, because I know that this year's are straight. They're happening. They're good. I like starting this off with Earl Douglas because he brings a fresh take to everything he does. He really does. Who sees himself as a critic, okay?
True.
He lives life like he's about to have a deadline with his opinion and put it out there. And as you know, this was a big year for him. Rolling Stone saw something very, very special in him. And maybe he'll end up becoming the movie critic for Rolling Stone. Earl, what is your comedy movie of the year?
It is Old Dads, starring, written, and directed by Bill Burr. It was very close to me because it deals with a subject that's very near me, like people of a certain age dealing with changes in the society, changes in time, and it's about three best friends.
Let me just ask this for your personal thing. How many children do you have, Earl?
I have no children.
All right.
So you're just
why?
old, not old dads.
Because I'm going to tell you something right now, Earl. You'd be an old granddad. I'd be like, man, he's too old to be a grandfather, you know? Mm-hmm. But here, I also want to say this. This did very, very well on Netflix. But I feel like more should have been brought out of the fact that Bill Burr directed. In our society, we put directors in a certain spot. You know what I mean?
Sure.
So just being able to direct a film, and then later you go out and decide how good it is. I mean, Earl picked this as his comedy film of the year. But just to be able to pull that off and have it make sense by the end is probably one of the toughest things to do in the arts.
It's one of three best friends who find they sell their business. They're older, they're older but have young children and younger wives, and then they have to find themselves navigating parenthood, navigating political correctness, navigating all of these changes that are going on in their lives.
This is very good for girls and women to hear about this because they have no idea how difficult it is to wait longer to be a dad, to marry much younger, to sell your business and be retired early. I mean, it's some of the hardest things that can take place in life.
Yeah, it sounds impossible.
And women just don't pay attention to that. And I salute old dads, and I salute you for bringing it up, Earl.
Yes, and I salute you, Earl, as, I guess, a self-identifying old dad.
But it's self-identifying Gen Z, Gen Xer dealing with
You're Gen Z?
I'm Gen X dealing with Gen Z
Dude,
issues.
you're the World War II fucking generation, bro. You're not dealing with Gen Z issues. You live with your parents. You're 59.
You don't have to deal with any youngsters whatsoever.
Yeah, but you're dealing with cancel culture, which is addressed in this
Cancer
movie.
culture. You said cancer culture.
You know what? I'm tired of all this cancer culture.
I'm so tired of how pro-cancer everyone is these days. I'm against it. Very much against it.
Are you worried about being canceled, Earl?
Well, just, obviously with pronouns, with the way.
Oh, God. One time I corrected you for misgendering someone, and you acted like it was the biggest hardship that's ever happened. All I said is, oh, Earl. And then you got furious, and you said, how am I supposed to know? Everyone's changing their pronouns.
Can I say, and I'm glad Earl has brought this up, I'm tired, Gail, of you and your cancer culture. I mean, it's disgusting to me. All right, so that's Earl. He picks old dads, and he identified with it as an older man who doesn't do anything to be canceled for, but doesn't have a kid. He would be the guy in Old Dads showing up at the school for picking up the children and not having one there. But I think it's a great pick, girl, and I admire you for doing it. Gail, what do you have as your comedy movie of the year?
I'm going to have to go big. I'm going with Barbie. 1.5 billion worldwide. It was just, I mean, to say it was a phenomenon is like an understatement. Greta Gerwig, who I have always loved. And again, this is something that I'm like, I don't know, a Barbie movie, Margot Robbie and Ryan Gosling in a Barbie movie. It just seemed like so distant from what she has done in her past career. And I've loved all her movies, and I think she's great. And I held off for a very long time. And I finally watched it, and I was like, okay, this is absolutely fantastic. It's so funny. It's cute. It's sweet. It's emotional. It's thoughtful. It's very self-aware. And the funny thing is, it took me a long time to watch it, but everyone I know who saw it, and these are people who I have very, similar opinions of this movie, was like, no, I was not expecting this. But this was a really entertaining movie to watch. And in a year where there wasn't a lot of comedy, I feel like it really went for it. All the performances are great. And it's really thoughtful. It's thoughtful and funny and smart.
First of all, I'm shocked. I still haven't seen it yet. I mean, because I hated the trailer so much. But then I saw the Ken song, and I did laugh.
It was very funny, right?
That I laugh, and I hope that song wins an Oscar. But it is now streaming for free on TBS, so I will watch it over the break. It has commercials, and I hope everyone is for either Barbie or Mattel products. The thing that I hate about this movie is now every other doll has just been greenlit to get a movie. You can't blame Greta, but it's annoying.
It is funny, too, because this movie is not like a commercial for Barbie, and this is how corporate America works. It's so funny that they're like, oh, they love Barbies. We can make more toy movies. Instead of seeing what was really unique and cool and weird and funny about this movie, they're not going to get it. So none of these will have the same reaction as this first one, and we'll definitely blame the epidemic of the toy movies because of this. But this one was truly great.
Also, the people complaining forgot that there's Transformer movies, there's G.I. Joe movies.
Right,
I mean,
exactly.
And those TV shows were just meant to sell toys as well. All right, I'm going to pick what I consider like an old school summer comedy. A little on the raunchy side and very, very surprising to see Jennifer Lawrence do No Hard Feelings. She's hilarious, and she goes for it. It's very much, it could have been an Amy Schumer movie, and Jennifer Lawrence does it and nails it. And you forget, it's like you take some of the best actresses and they crush at comedy. They're just not always given the comedy roles. But if they're a good actor, they're going to be able to sell this. And there's a scene where Jennifer Lawrence is totally nude and in a fist fight, and it is fucking hilarious. I mean, I laughed like it was like I was watching a Mel Brooks movie. That's how hard I was laughing. So great one. Chris Stanley has sent an envelope that, believe it or not, it just got here.
Oh, yeah. Just in time.
I guess just in time, but I wanted to get it earlier because it looks like he's taped this envelope.
Oh, no. Chris. Chris? He's making it so difficult on you.
All right, here, it's open. All right, there's another envelope inside.
Why would he put 2 envelopes in there?
He doesn't want anyone to know. All right, I got the card. It just says, fuck yeah. My man Chad Dukes fucked everybody up. So I don't know. I guess this is for Tapawingo.
Yes.
He doesn't write Tapawingo. He just writes, my man Chad Dukes fucked everybody up.
That's
So
Tapawingo. That's
we're gonna
one
give
vote
it to
for
Tapawingo. Yeah, we're going to give it to him. And I hope, if Tapawingo wins this, they have the same kind of a heat of, like, let's say, My Name is Dolomite or Deadpool, where they just keep winning even years after they won.
Yeah. And like not even the following year, just like a couple years later winning again.
Yeah.
I don't know how that worked.
A lot of it, I think, has to do with some of these, I think, may even just be a reboot. You know what I mean? I don't know. Maybe, they do that with Spider-Man.
True.
Maybe they do it with My Name is Dolomite. Let's see how Martin Lawrence would play it. But you look over this Asteroid City. It was a very, very weird
So
movie.
good. I really
You're
enjoyed
So
it.
Not Invited to My Bar Mitzvah. Shocked everybody. Because who thought Adam's Kids would... The Machine was fucking great. We should have picked The Machine, too. And The Road Dog was a really interesting original movie, and I hope people see that as well. Dick's the Musical is another one that probably started as much trouble as it got laughs.
Right.
A lot of people aren't that comfortable with Dick's the Musical. But that is the top 10 comedy movie nominees.
Don't forget to go to theinterrobang.com to vote every day. You can vote now for the best comedy special, best comedy movie, and best TV series of 2023. Coming up next, our top 10 comedy TV shows of the year.
Here are the nominees for Best Comedy TV Show or Series of the Year.
Your nominees for the top 10 comedy TV series of 2023. Bupkis, Beef, Survival of the Thickest, Party Down Season 3, Only Murders in the Building Season 3, Righteous Gemstones Season 3, How To with John Wilson Season 3, I Think You Should Leave Season 3, The Curse, and Abbott Elementary. This is a year of Season 3.
This is, I think one of the most difficult decisions all Americans have is how to keep up with television series. There are so many of them.
The
You know what
pressure.
I mean? Yeah. I just tried to give the Frasier reboot a look. You know what I mean? Am I like, should I try it? Should I go to it? I feel like I start series and I'm like, oh, I like this series, and then I don't stick with it.
I know. And, it's almost the worst thing in the world to get a couple TV shows that you really love happening at once, because the pressure to watch them on time becomes very stressful. You're like, I don't want to miss out. I don't want to get a spoiler. And some nights me and my husband are going, I'm exhausted, but we have 3 shows we have to watch tonight, or else it will be spoiled for us by tomorrow.
Right. And God forbid one of you should not watch with the other one. That is ending more marriages right now than sleeping with the babysitter.
Isn't it the worst when you put on the show that you've been looking forward to, and your significant other, your spouse, is your partner in crime, the person you're going to chit-chat about all the little twists and turns, and then all of a sudden you hear the gentle sounds of snoring next to you, and you go, I've waited all week to talk about this.
Yeah.
I've waited all week, and you're going to wake up and finish this show with me.
So you watch TV in bed?
No, that's on the couch. He'll just
Oh,
pass
on the
out
couch, I
while we're
Yeah.
watching.
Because TV in bed for me is like a sleeping pill.
Oh, yeah,
And I don't
that's-
give a shit what it is. It's like you just gave me a pill.
I can't be horizontal and watch anything. I'm out. I'm out. I have to be sitting upright or else I will sleep. And I also argue, I go, don't you like this show? And he goes, why would my sleeping mean I'm not enjoying it? I go, how could someone enjoy something and sleep at the same time? This is
Maybe
the kind of
'cause-
things
yeah.
that too much good TV can give the pressure up.
And a lot of these shows we feel like we're dedicated to for like, so hard in season 1. And then you'll just hear this season 3 and you're like, what? Did I also miss last year? You know what I mean? These
Right.
Remember how much we were all addicted to Severance, and now I can't even remember what the first season was about because it's been years.
I know. And like, where did we leave off? Like, I can't remember. Like, I know the last episode was thrilling, but I'm gonna have to rewatch it again. It's too much time in between.
I don't know whether I like the inside them or the outside them. You know what I mean?
Who am I rooting for?
I'll tell you who I'm rooting for is that corporation. They're doing everything they can. You know what I mean? To make things happen. They've gone beyond what most people would do. All right. The top 10 TV series, just to remind people how it went in past years. 2015 was the Jim Gaffigan show. Remember that one? Mm-hmm. So funny. And then Jim said, I don't need this TV shit. You know what I mean? He just ended it. Baskets.
Love.
Who didn't like Baskets? Better Things.
Favorite.
Crashing and Barry tied in 2018, which looks kind of embarrassing now. When Barry, is now considered a classic. And no one remembers Crashing, but we were excited because all of our friends were walking through
It's fun.
Righteous Gemstones in 2019. They're up to season 3 already.
Yeah.
Schitt's Creek. The Miss Pat Show, which I don't think is with us anymore. I think she's a judge straightening people out on television. And then maybe our favorite ever, our buddy and Flatbush Misdemeanors winning it.
Oh, that was so great for Dan Perlman. That was so great.
Dan Perlman did it all. So we're going to look at this year's nominees. And as always, we got to get the ball rolling right away with the guy that I call the Terminator of critiques, all right? Because he'll be back. He'll be back. What do you got, Earl?
It is How To with John Wilson, season 3. This show is so unique, weird, and laugh out loud funny because you just don't believe that a simple premise like how to find a bathroom would take you to all of these different, how to find a public bathroom would take you into these weird situations all over the country, I might add.
But thanks for that. I didn't know that. I thought maybe it was just in his
It's one
neighborhood.
place, yeah.
But are you laughing with him or at him, Earl? It seems like slightly cruel to me to call this a comedy because I think that he's serious.
But, I mean, the funny parts is of the people he encounters and their weirdness and their quirks, and you just can't believe that these people exist in the country. And then
You're not online?
I mean, it's,
You haven't voted?
I mean, but if you look at it,
I'm surprised about nothing with Americans anymore. You know what I mean? People have risen to the top of our political systems and our businesses, and I'm like, is that person insane? I just saw them talk on television. How did they become a billionaire? How did they become a senator? And I'm not even pointing at anyone in particular. I mean almost as the norm now. You know what I mean? As the norm. I'm at the point where I want to put Mr. Pillow's face on the flag.
Mr. Pillows.
So you like this John Wilson. Now, who produces this show, Earl?
I don't know off the top of my head who produces the show.
You know exactly who produces the show. You know who's behind this. And he's trying to annoy America. He's trying to drive America insane. And you know what? He's doing it now on multiple platforms. And he's turning this stuff into the norm. You know what I mean? Weirdness is the new normal.
Yeah. If it's not making your skin crawl, are you even being entertained?
And my skin does indeed crawl. All right? My skin has now almost always crawling. So it's Nathan Fielder. I know that you don't follow everything, but people love to be annoyed by Nathan Fielder.
They do.
He shows up later, also in this, in The Curse. He's behind that. And I'll tell you, I think that he's talented, but if I ever meet Nathan Fielder, I'm going to beat him up for what he's done to me and my country of birth. Oh, I can't ever relax now because of Nathan Fielder. No. Yeah, what do you have as your favorite of the year?
My favorite of the year, and I'm a fan of so many of these shows, but I am going with Only Murders in the Building Season 3 for the absolute joy that show gives me. To spend time with these characters, with Steve Martin Short, even Selena Gomez, who I've just now I love because of this show. So I'll just love her forever for being part of it. But the addition of Meryl Streep in this season was so goddamn good. And she is just unbelievable in this show. She's so sweet and funny, but emotional. Her level of kind of being dedicated to a story is unbelievable. That you see that she takes it so seriously, but she's so natural. Is there ever more of someone who makes acting look so effortless? It's the easiest thing on earth. She just has that capability. But, Paul Rudd was in this season, Cara Delevingne. It was just a really, really funny season. And now that we're into season 3, it seems to be less and less kind of about what the actual murder mystery is, because who cares? It's just watching these characters unfold, the story unfold, this really funny kind of other world New York that they've created, and I just enjoy it so much.
The next season they're going to Hollywood, and weirdly I'm looking forward to that. And like you, I love all the people in this. I lost my love for Selena Gomez because she's dating Benny Blanco, who is Justin Bieber's ex-friend.
Oh,
so
no.
I feel like they know what they're doing, I guess. That's what Now, I don't know who Benny Blanco is.
No,
but
I know.
It still doesn't stop me from judging.
I know that he has curly hair. I saw a picture of him, and he has very curly hair.
I thought he was Benny Blanco from the Bronx. I thought it was from a mob movie. All right, I'm going to pick mine, and this one has not been talked about much, and I thought it was very funny and just a great ride. But when Pete Davidson went on SNL, he even said, "Nobody has watched my series." And again, if people ask me, where is it? I don't know. Is it Amazon? I don't know what the hell. Is it Apple? I don't know where things show up. But Pete Davidson is in it. Joe Pesci plays his grandfather. And we haven't seen Joe Pesci in years, And it's really funny. Shane Gillis plays one of his hanger-ons because Pete has made it, and at a young age where he's still dragging around 6 or 7 buddies, and one of them is Shane, who in real life is dragging around 6 or 7 buddies, and Shane is selling stories to TMZ or whatever. It's very funny, and it's I would say this: it's uneven, but on purpose. You know what I mean? Some episodes just feel completely different. Some episodes, because it's Pete, are pretty heartbreaking. His dad issues, his drug issues, his mental problem issues. But it's a very, very, to me, it's the whole reason to go to a streaming show. It doesn't play like Friends.
Right, exactly.
And now it's time to go to Chris Stanley's, and I don't know what he's going to pick, but he sent me an envelope.
Okay.
And I'm going to open this up, and I'm going to read this very quickly. Time is of the essence of this right now.
Okay. I wish he wouldn't.
There we go.
Chris, why does he put so much?
I guess he doesn't want anybody to see.
Oh my God! It never ends. He could have just sent you a text.
All right, almost done.
Almost. Is it open yet?
All right, this just says, what day is it? Which I don't think is the name of any of the shows. Okay, that was just a question for me. On the back, he put The Curse.
The Curse. Man, it's so hard to say because like I watch every episode. I think that it is very well done and smart, and it's so uncomfortable to watch. It's hard to use the phrase enjoying it because you're like, can I say I'm enjoying something that feels like personal torture? But I will tell you, Nathan Fielder is incredible. Emma Stone is amazing in it. And Benny Safdie, I mean, the Safdies are geniuses. So, I mean, I think it's great, but it hurts me physically to watch it.
If Benny Safdie was just an actor, you'd be like, I didn't know this guy had this kind of range. You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah.
I mean, it's crazy when you look at the characters that he's played. When it doesn't even think like acting is his first love. Emma Stone may get the Oscar this year, and she's doing a streaming TV show at the same time. That's how much the world has changed.
Yes.
And I have to tell you, I mean, yes, she's kind of annoying, but I've watched the scene with her and Steven 67 times now, and it's probably one of the greatest scenes in the history of TV comedy. And Earl's hero, Nathan Fielder, plays a cuck to a dildo kneeling by. I mean, the fact that Earl's like, I can't believe how weird people is. Watch this, Earl.
Yes.
This is the people who
It's
think,
truly.
hey, yeah, let's put John Wilson through it. And on that, I'll watch every episode of this show. I just pray there isn't a season 2 where I'll watch every episode of that. These are the top 10 comedy TV series of the year.
Go to theinterrobang.com to vote every day for your favorite comedy this year. Coming up next, the best comedy books and best comedy albums of 2023.
Faction Talk 103, it's the Bennington Show! Faction Talk 103, it's the Bennington Show!
Here are the nominees for Best Book Written by a Comedian of the Year.
Our top 10 books by comedians in 2023: Stephen Wright, Harold; Reggie Watts, Great Falls, Montana; Gary Goldman, Misfit; Dave Hill, The Awesome Game; Maria Bamford, Sure, I'll Join Your Cult; Tom Papa, We're All in This Together; Joey Coco Diaz, Tremendous; Leslie Jones, Leslie fucking Jones; Aparna Nancharla, Unreliable Narrator; and Ada Rodriguez, Legitimate Kid.
It's a pretty good lineup. It's always interesting to me to see these comics working outside of their normal comfort zone. And a lot of times they put out these books and don't even go out and promote them.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like somebody says, here's some money, do a book. They do it, but they don't think about it again. But there's also some people that are super proud of this. Here's some of the great people in the past who've won this. Joan Rivers, Colin Quinn, Doug Stanhope, back-to-back years, Jim Florentine, Judd Apatow, Colin Quinn again, Tom Sharpling, and Tom Segura. I'm always impressed when somebody has done a book. I'm always impressed if somebody's even read a book, let alone written one.
And we we should all get awards for having read these, is what you're saying.
I do believe that. Earl, let's start with you. What is your top 10 book by comedians?
It is Reggie Watts' Great Falls, Montana, and it's one of the most entertaining books I've ever read, and one of the most inspiring books I've ever read. Because
what inspired you?
Just this idea that it's okay to be an outsider. It's okay to be different. It's okay to be...
You didn't know that?
I mean, sometimes you need to be reinforced. It's like, sometimes you need, like, hey, you're weird. Great, be weird. And he is...
All right, do you want to hear something that's weird? I did Unmasked with Reggie Watts years ago. He had the new iPhone. He turned it into a production studio in front of the audience. Everybody was flipping the fuck out, right? Then we put it online. Everybody was flipping it out. It was one of those things that went viral. People who understood technology were like, this changes everything. I've never seen him or another human being doing it since. And I'm telling you now, you have all this stuff in the iPhone. It's just one of the things that we don't. And I think if that's all Reggie would have done is go out and do that show, making up, he'd be just as famous as he is now.
Yeah, and you get a real window into his brain on how it got there, and it's an unbelievable book.
Gail, who's your book of the year?
My book is a book I'm currently reading, and that's Gary Goldman's Misfit. It's so fantastic. It should be no surprise because we all know what a great comedic writer Gary Goldman is, and you see that in his stand-up of the type of writing he does. But it's just amazing to see him do it in a book, the way he's laying out his childhood. It's basically a backstory on what is his mental collapse. It's like he goes back into his childhood and goes through some of these stories, which is, of course, very funny the way he tells it, very thoughtful and hysterical. And I'm enjoying it so much. So my pick is Gary Goldman, Misfit. Go get it, too, if you haven't read it yet. But it's fantastic.
I'm going to pick, and I don't think this surprises anybody, because I compared this person's writing to Kurt Vonnegut, who's probably my favorite writer of all time, but Stephen Wright and Harold. I highly recommend you go back and listen to The Unmasked. It's hilarious and so smart. It's the same way that I would describe this book. It is... Like when you saw Stephen Wright when he broke in the 80s and you're saying there's something really different about this guy, this book will show you. He could have been a straight author the whole time. Chris Stanley, not here, but he has sent an envelope, Gail. And this envelope, of course, is highly taped up. But apparently he forgot to put the card inside the envelope, because the card with his pick is just stapled to the outside of this envelope. So at the very least, I feel like the mailman knows who he had voted for. But it was Dave Hill, The Awesome Game.
Oh, good
and,
pick.
The thing is, Dave Hill is into hockey. Chris Stanley is into hockey. And finally, these two guys who always seem to me to be mortal enemies have lined up on the same side. So any of these books are worth picking. And, of course, your vote just as valuable as ours. So make sure that you vote in this category. Send it out to your friends who like to read. And this has been the top 10 books by comedians.
Here are the nominees for the Best Comedy Album of the Year.
The top 10 comedy albums of 2023. Paul Morrissey, Ice Cream versus Everything. Bobcat Goldthwait, Soldier for Christ. Greg Proops, French Drug Deal. Chris DiStefano, Chrissy New York Comedy Club. Maria Bamford, Crowd Pleaser. Bob the Drag Queen, Woke Man in a Dress, Deanne Smith, Chewini in a Tank Top, Liz Barrett, Getting By, Kenny DeForest, Don't You Know Who I Am, and Jenny Zagrino, Gen Z.
Pretty good lineup. Now here's of course, over the years, we've gone from the comedy album, which was a hard thing that you could pick up, play at home, whether it was a record, a tape, or a DVD. Now this is just stuff that they send to the streaming companies. And along with a note that said, I'm going to count every time you play this, and I expect to be paid for it. Past winners, Big J, Jay Moore, Rich Voss, who also is the last person to sell physical stuff. Joe DeRosa, Adam Ferrara, Rich Voss again, Bonnie McFarlane, James Mattern, and Jen Kirkman. It should be the streamer of the year. And Earl Douglas, we're going to let you go first. Who do you pick?
I'm picking Kenny DeForest, Don't You Know Who I Am. We recently lost Kenny, and it just rocked the comedy world. And when you hear this album, you see why other comics adored him. It was just really funny, really insightful, hilarious, absolutely hilarious. And I that was the album of the year for me. It just was because he was just one of these really sweet guys and really funny guys.
All right, I want you to be honest right now. Would you have picked this of your album of the year if he hadn't been hit by the car? Because I feel like this is your Earl is better than you, Ron, and Gail, and Chris.
I know you're going to make us all look like crap for not picking
like
Kenny.
We pick a living person right now. We look like shit.
We
and
really
I don't
do.
think you were even familiar. I think you got familiar with him from the New York Post, reading about it. And even though we had many friends that are best friends with him, I don't think Earl would.
I'm ashamed to give my pick now because I'm not going to look as amazing as Earl.
I'm going to just agree with Earl and pick Kenny.
Yeah. I mean, first of all, let's all just say we fully agree with Earl. That's for sure.
Gail, who do you pick?
I am going to pick Bob the Drag Queen, Woke Man in a Dress. Bob is so incredibly funny. He's so lightning fast, and I've always adored him. I was really, really excited to check out this album. Yeah, I highly recommend it. It's my favorite of the year. You know, he does like a lot of like funny millennial in like a new changing world kind of vibe.
That's different.
He's just adorable and so funny.
What does he think? That these kids get too many trophies? That his big
No,
beef
that was
there?
us. Remember, that was us. We had too many trophies.
I don't know. I just don't think anybody deserves a trophy or a statue anymore of any size. I wanted to pick Kenny DeForest.
Yeah, me too,
Earl
by the
took it. Earl took it from me. Actually, unlike Earl, I'm going to really pick somebody that I admire quite a bit. The fact that this comic can be funny in so many different ways. The way he broke through in the 80s was always hilarious to me. But then he's able to write and direct. And now he does stand up in a totally different way than what made him famous. And it's killer. And that's Bobcat Goldthwait, Soldier for Christ. As far as I'm concerned, if I found out Bobcat was running for Senate, I'd go out and knock door to door for him. I really would.
Me too.
Yeah.
Me too.
One of the all-time greats. But I also wanted to go to Chris Stanley. And he sent this one over. It's kind of interesting on a cheeseburger wrapper.
Okay.
And then he wrote on one side, "Love my burgers, White Castle fucks everyone else's ass."
Okay,
And then
Chris.
on the other side of it, he wrote, "I'm Paul Morrissey." His bad impression.
That doesn't sound anything like Paul.
It sounds anything like Paul. One of the great road comics working today has done every major TV shows, played every venue from small to gigantic. Nobody that any of us like better than Paul Morrissey, except for, of course, Kenny DeForest, who Earl is now Earl's favorite comic. Earl said to me, "Can you believe he's in the 27 Club?" I go, "Earl, he was much older than 27.
He wasn't 27, Earl.
And then Earl said to me, "I just thought 27 Club meant dead. I didn't know it had to do with any other number."
Earl.
Album of the year. It's always a tough pick because, like we say, some albums are put out and they're shaped to be an album, and others is, hey, I've got some extra stuff. I'm going to send it to the SiriusXM comedy department and let the checks come rolling in. But these are the album of the year nominees.
You can vote now for the best in comedy of 2023, best comedy special, best comedy TV show, best comedy movie, best book written by a comedian, and the comedy album of the year. Just go to theinterrobang.com to vote every day. Up next, we make our picks for comedian of the year.
Here are the nominees for Comedian of the Year.
In the 10th annual Comedian of the Year for 2023, we have Nate Bargatze, Shane Gillis, Taylor Tomlinson, Bert Kreischer, Andrew Schultz, Chris DiStefano, Sarah Silverman, Marlon Wayans, Matt Rife, and Roy Wood Jr.
Man, that is that's a 1927 Yankees lineup there.
It's a huge lineup.
This one could go almost anyway. Let me just let you know, people have won Comedian of the Year in the past. 2014, Bill Burr, Nate Bargatze the next year, Jim Jeffries, Judah Freelander, Bert Kreischer, Shane Gillis, Colin Quinn, Nate Bargatze again, and last year, of course, Chris DiStefano with Specie Wesci, his well-named TV special. I mean, you look around this year, I'm just looking, Nate couldn't be any bigger. Shane is gigantic. Taylor came almost from out of nowhere for most people in the country.
True.
And is just selling out huge venues, and then just got the new show on CBS. Bert Kreischer did a movie. You know what I mean? Like, did a movie, and he's selling out these baseball stadiums, taking a bunch of comics out on the road with him. It's really, really fun. Andrew Schultz is probably the most influential comedian working today.
Yeah.
Just sold out Madison Square Garden. And also, he's the OG for doing it yourself, for going through YouTube,
Right.
and knocking down the walls. I mean, it's just unbelievable what Andrew Schultz has done. This is worth the documentary. Chris DiStefano keeps getting bigger. Sarah Silverman is Sarah Silverman, and she's fighting against every Hamas supporter that there is right now. Marlon Wayans, Matt Rife. I didn't even know who he was. I didn't even know who Matt Rife was, and he became gigantic. And then Roy Wood Jr., who to me did one of the most interesting things of the year. First of all, he's just a road dog and a hardworking guy. Working hard just about as much as anyone. And then the Daily Show, they keep trying to figure out who they're going to put in there, and Roy is in the short list for it. And then he just said, "Look, I'm leaving. If you want me, I'll come back, but I'm not auditioning anymore."
Right.
And
That's great.
I can't tell you how much I love that. You know what I mean? He goes, "If I got to figure out what I'm going to do next, it's time to start doing that." But that move, because the Comedy Central people, they really seem to drag their feet on a lot of different things.
They do, yeah.
But you look at this list, I wouldn't have any problem with anybody who won. I know Sarah Silverman just did a sit down with Andy Cohen. I mean, how much bigger can you get for that in the world of women? So let's go to Earl Douglas first. I mean, first of all, who knows? Earl may be just batting 1,000 here. You know what I mean? Because he seems to know what the man on the street is doing. I mean, lunch bucket, Earl Douglas. He's blue collar. You know, he's a man of the people. Quite frankly, I feel if he ran for mayor of New York, there's no stopping him. You know,
Yeah.
particularly if he ran as a Republican. You know what I mean? I put him in that same place where I put Rudy. Somebody that people are going to fall in love with and eventually take to court and just hitting him trial after trial until he's a shell of his former self. So, Earl Douglas, I look to you first and foremost on who was going to be Comedian of the Year this year.
My pick is Marlon Wayans for Comedian of the Year. He just had the special that everyone was talking about. And here's a guy who he was known more for television, more for doing the various appearances. And he does this special like he's been doing this his entire life. And it was just so, and it's been,
he's been a stand-up for a long, long time.
But
Very
he wasn't
well respected.
But he wasn't in that, that higher era of comics. And then this was his Bring the Pain moment where he just graduated to that next level of comic, and everyone was talking about God Loves Me. I mean, and to tackle that topic with such ferocity, accuracy, and I mean, he did the whole point where he was looking at it from the standpoint of someone who was watching it in the audience, both black and white, brilliantly. And the whole special was just a knockout from start to finish, and I that was my guy. That was Marlon Wayans. I'm like, okay, you are officially Comedian of the Year.
All right, I agree with everything that you said, Earl, but I would also say most underrated this year. Like, I didn't hear everyone talking about it. Are you saying...
I think he deserved more buzz.
Yeah. Maybe you're talking the Community, as you call it, Earl, where I'm stuck in the Upper East Side, with some kind of martini and little bites groups. We just have little bites.
It was definitely the talk of the barbershop.
Okay. I didn't know you went to the barbershop. I thought you shaved your own head. I agree with I agree with everything you said. I just thought it deserved even more attention. Gail Bennington, we're going to you.
I'm going to pick my Comedian of the Year as Sarah Silverman for 2023.
Wow.
She puts out this really great HBO special that's just like fantastic. She's done guest host of The Daily Show. But to me, the two things about her this year, first of all, just fearlessly taking on anti-Semitism and just being just like this kind of unshakable force with that, and just kind of like coming on like all attackers, whatever, like she's just stayed so tough with that. And I know that hasn't been an easy battle for her, but also how much she took this really big leadership role during the SAG-AFTRA strike, and how outspoken she was during that. I feel like between those two things, she's just been this really loud voice in comedy, and I think that she has kind of stayed in the conversation all year long because of that. So I'm going to give it to Sarah Silverman.
Sarah Silverman, also I think she's going to be doing a TV show with Letterman about stupid pet tricks.
She is, yeah. She's got that coming up. And let's not forget also when she went viral for losing her virginity to Kevin Brennan, because that's brave to come out and say that. It's brave.
Yeah, that shocked me. I didn't know. And then she was also, I guess, apparently in love with him when she was younger.
Yeah. That's one brave lady.
I'm going to just say I probably didn't get to know that Kevin Brennan.
Like, whoever that version of him was is unknown to us.
And also, he's really not like, hey, man, I should have played that differently. He's staying pretty Kevin Brennan with it all. All right, I'm looking this over. I was really planning on picking Matt Rife as kind of a funny thing because A, I haven't seen a special. B, I've seen the backlash.
Yes.
C, I think that this could be like that little thing of time and place where people are like either like, hey, we didn't know how good he was going to be, or what was everyone thinking? You know
Yes.
what I mean?
And for that reason, it's very possible he could win this, you know? I mean, that level of kind of support he's.
I could easily go for Bert Kreischer because he's done this before. Also, Taylor has really impressed me. I've already said that it's kind of Shane's year. Nate is, I think he just sold out an entire state of Wisconsin where,
The whole state.
yeah, he's going to be going over it in an air balloon where the people look up and applaud as he's going by. I mean, he's just gotten gigantic. But I talked myself into saying this is Andrew Schultz's time. You know what I mean? It's just so much about like the new way of presenting comedy and how that's hit people. I'm going to go with Andrew Schultz. Sorry,
I think that's
Max.
very smart. I think that's very smart.
I hope I haven't ruined everything for us. Hope we didn't put up the wrong picture as I was saying that. Now it's time to go to the man, Chris Stanley. As you know, he's always had a sixth sense about Comedian of the Year.
He does.
And he couldn't be here because of some personal matters, but he did send me an envelope. And
Oh, God, another envelope?
well, this is larger. This is the largest one.
Why couldn't he have put these all in the same envelope?
You know, I didn't think of that. I wish we would have said that in advance. That's probably a great idea in the future, if for his next personal problems.
Yes, he should just put all his pigs in one. Okay. Why is it such a large envelope? If you're only going to put one. Oh, God.
This is kind of fun.
Chris! Oh, my God. It's still going.
All right, damn it. He put glitter in here, and it's all over the place.
You've been glitter bombed.
I didn't even know that was a thing. Glitter bombed
Yes.
is a thing?
It's a thing.
All right, the person that he picked, I've already said what an amazing guy that he's been this past year. But I left this out. He also did the dinner that they hold in Washington, D.C., the White House Correspondents' Dinner.
That's right.
Crushed it. I consider that one of the biggest comedy stages, and that's kind of a transformation place
Yes.
that you get if you want to speak politically. And you can't say enough good things about Roy Wood Jr. And
Good pick, Chris.
this is kind of interesting. Chris has put Roy with red lines underneath of it, Wood with blue lines underneath of it, and I think he did Junior with white lines, but I can't tell because it's on a white piece of paper. But then he also did like gold frame around it.
Okay.
And then in neon green, he yelled, "Fuck yeah, go RWJ."
Okay.
So I think
He was
pretty
really
serious
enthusiastic about this one.
I don't know who's going to win Comedian of the Year this year.
This one, I think, has the potential to be the most shocking. Like, I feel
Yeah.
like anyone has a shot at this one. All of these are really great comics who have had just really phenomenal years. So this, I think, is going to be a surprising category.
I'll tell you this, anybody can win this race. Anybody. And I think I would have zero problem with anybody winning this race. Might be ironic that it is Matt Rife after I've
Could be.
stopped backing him and moved over to Andrew Schultz.
Then you'll
But
have egg
it's
on
a
your
very
face.
yeah. It's well, I have egg on my face because I ate my breakfast so fast. You know, it's really funny. Like, you know how like Juju will only eat egg whites And then Frankie will say, I want the yellows.
Yeah. Send over those extra yellows this way.
Get the yellows over here. She's not quite of a health nut, but she is somewhat of a math whiz, so we're all excited about it. I don't know who you pick out of this, but I'm very, very excited. I mean, I'll say this, Comedian of the Year this year is more impressive than the Oscars. You know what I mean?
I know that to be true.
Because normally in the Oscars, you're like one, sometimes two deserve to win. And this is almost everybody.
Yeah. That's a good point. Almost never do you watch the Oscars and in any given category you go, anyone should and could win it. You usually have maybe you're lucky if you even have one that you're pulling for.
Yeah. I very rarely even have that. Very rarely do I have that. And that is your Comedian of the Year. Now, Earl and Gail, we have a bonus segment this year, and neither of you know anything about this.
Bonus?
We don't even have to pick. I'm just letting you know that this is going. Earl looks like he's going to faint right now.
Earl, it's okay.
This is going up. I don't expect you to pick this, but it's available to do. This is the biggest comedian of the last 10 years.
Here are your nominees for Comedian of the Decade.
Wow. This has been 10 years
Yes.
of these awards. So this is over the last 10 years. I don't even know the nominees.
Now, here's the thing. We've actually even put in some of the nominees that were like, okay, you're too big to be in this. You know what I mean? At certain points, we graduate people on, you know?
Right.
So here you are. Just sit back and take a listen. Dave Chappelle, Louis C.K., Amy Schumer, Bill Burr, Kevin Hart, Bert Kreischer, Jim Gaffigan, Sarah Silverman, John Mulaney, and Sebastian Maniscalco.
Wow. Oh, man. I'm split between a couple. Who I would give this to. All right, let me give you my first.
Yeah.
Do you want me to give you my first instinct?
Here's what we'll do. We'll go through this and we'll make the case for and against.
Okay.
Or whatever you want to do. Anybody. Dave Chappelle right off the bat. Anybody bigger?
No, there's no one bigger. So it's very difficult. I would say the only way to make a case against is to say, was his 10 years prior to that even bigger than these last 10 years? But it's hard to think of a bigger comedian than Dave Chappelle.
Pretty much a guy who can do whatever he wants. And I'm literally talking about when you're hosting SNL, you're smoking a cigarette. And,
Right.
You know
right.
what I mean? And
Literally defying laws.
Yes. Yeah. And everyone's just like, well, that's Dave. Dave's got to be Dave.
We got to let him do it.
Louis C.K. exploded in the last 10 years. And then he did something really interesting, I thought, which was branching out. I think he was the first to start that. I'm going to use myself to write other projects that I'm not even involved in.
Right.
And, baskets, better things. I mean, it just almost seemed like it was effortless for him to do this, as well as changing TV comedy with Louis,
Right.
And he did that coming off Lucky Louie, which was considered, a failure because it only went one season. But I feel like that laid out how he was going to do stuff his way. And even now, I mean, he was the first one who would, like, he released a TV series on his website. You know, he shot a movie and released it on his website.
He's certainly done some of the most unique creative things within comedy. And then even, just with film, directing, TV, writing, he's kind of always figured out a way to pivot.
And then also was probably the first one canceled, and then the first one to just keep selling tickets despite being canceled. I mean, when he goes out, the places sell out right away.
Yeah.
Amy Schumer, I mean, again, that
really
became bigger than life.
Bigger than life. I mean, all her movies within the last 10 years, she's like, probably you're going from inside Amy Schumer into like her, I'm going to say 3-4 big major motion pictures that she's in. Documentaries, tons of really big hit specials. Also, I think is important is just kind of like that household name that she could end up in the press and people know who she is, whether or not they follow comedy, is like beyond just being a comedy star, it's being a star. And I think she hit that place.
Bill Burr, the same kind of thing. He's basically running an empire now.
Bill Burr is a name that before you read, because this is a surprise category, before you read the list, I went, well, Bill Burr is a very strong possibility. Bill Burr in the last 10 years, again, not only stand-up and not only the way stand-up comedians feel about him, but film, TV, just, become like his star just like rose massively in the last 10 years.
Now we're talking about a guy who goes through everything, is Kevin Hart. Kevin Hart is in any type of stuff that you could do. I mean, he just got a thing of like a Manning cast for the NBA where he's sitting around talking while the game's on. It's crazy. Right. Like you would think, do you need to do that? You're already a movie star.
Right.
You know? He just keeps going.
And I think what percentage of Americans, if you just like polled on the street and said, name a comedic movie star working today, I feel like a large percentage is going to say Kevin Hart.
Yeah,
most
people that don't know comedy know Kevin Hart.
Yeah.
Bert Kreischer, I think what's interesting, if you go back 10 years, he was headlining clubs. And now headlines whatever he wants to headline.
Yes.
Huge places. Always fun. Bringing fun even before the funny.
Yeah.
Movie. I mean, he's just a tornado. He's just moving through the
really
country
is.
like a comedy tornado. Jim Gaffigan, steady, strong, always putting out specials, always selling places out, doing it his way. Sarah Silverman, we already brought up before, what she's been able to do. And, now, she goes back to the 90s, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like very early into the alt stuff. John Mulaney, terrific writer, does specials. The nice guy who became a drug addict and now talks about drug addiction, and people who don't even understand drug addiction will laugh at those jokes. Sebastian Maniscalco, again, 10 years ago, where was he?
Right.
Where is he today? Madison Square Garden. I mean, to me, he's the original Tommy Cutlets. He just makes the Italian people feel great, and he makes the non-Italians feel a little more Italian when they're listening and enjoying. And I'm going to add a name to a person who I think has created more comedy careers than anybody in history. And I'm going to even put Johnny Carson in that. And I'm going to go Joe Rogan, who is single-handedly the biggest podcaster that ever lived. And as a guy who came up through traditional broadcasting, what Joe Rogan does was what we were taught would not work. You know what I mean?
Right.
You can't go through, talking about the UFC, talking about health issues, talking about drugs, talking about aliens. And he has turned his own personality into a format, right? The things that interest him are now a standard format, and one that has been attempted to be copied, but I don't think anyone has even started to climb that hill in terms of, I'll talk about what I want to talk about. Today it's politics. Tomorrow I'm bringing in 4 comics and we're going to laugh our asses off. Right. The next day I'm going to talk about UFC. The next day I'm going to talk about religion and is the pluses and minuses. I mean, it's just from a broadcasting point of view, it's left the people who professionally told everybody how to do that flat-footed. And they're not going to admit it, but they said that this couldn't happen.
And you're right, like not only just being a massive success and like again, household name kind of status, but also the way he kind of knights other comedians. Like anytime he pulls someone into his circle, it's like he's given this stamp of approval and then people reap the benefits of that. And that's like tremendous influence in comedy.
And, it's just not like, okay, he touches their forehead, so they're okay. They have to come in and grab that audience. And if they leave with even a piece of it, they're ridiculously successful from that point on. So it doesn't happen to everyone, but it does happen to the people who are prepared to meet that challenge. Earl, when you look this over, who do you pick?
I'm going to go with Dave Chappelle because he just took it to the stratosphere to the point where his specials were events. They weren't just specials anymore. It's like, what is he going to say this time? And then when the specials do come out, they, people will cherry pick and really extract something that he said, and it goes viral and it's talked about relentlessly. So I'm going to go with Chappelle.
Yeah, Chappelle is pretty incredible what he's been able to do. And certainly under his own terms. People forget he walked away from a huge deal at Comedy Central because he didn't like the way it was going. And people forget this. He was considered literally crazy for doing that. People would talk, oh, did you hear Chappelle's in Africa wandering around in the jungle or something? Or Chappelle, just showed up someplace and people yelled stuff out and he refused to move. I mean, he just rebranded that whole thing. He just took the path he wanted to take until people decided that it worked. What about for you, Gail?
I'm sick over this decision because I'm picking between two. So I almost feel like as I talked it out, as we went through the nominees, I convinced myself which I'm going for. I'm going to go with Amy Schumer. And I'm going to go because of the TV shows, the movies, the documentaries, the political commentary, which has been constant from her, from, Israel, gun control. Like, I feel like people look to her now for her take on things. She has been just the amount of armor that she wears for negative attention. She's stayed so strong. And she's put out tons of great specials. And again, she's somebody who I know that people who don't know comedy go name a comedian, they're going to say Amy Schumer. You know what I mean? She's beyond a household name. She's beyond a comedy star. She's just a star. And this was really tricky because it was between her and someone else. But I feel like I've made my decision. It's Amy Schumer.
All right. Chris Stanley just sent me a text right now. Wow. He said, I didn't know we were going to do this. So let me go to this.
How was that a text message? How
what?
Is his text message in an envelope? I can't take this anymore. He's driving me insane.
Oh, I'm sorry. I was opening up a Christmas present.
Okay, because it made it sound like you were opening a text message.
Okay. This is also listed as a Christmas and birthday present.
Oh, that's a cop-out.
I despise that. and it just says, you have 10 free hugs coming your way. Use that.
That's not a good gift.
I hate that gift.
That's an awful gift.
I hate when someone offers hugs. Ugh. I don't even like to be hugged. I feel like I'm being attacked. Chris Stanley picked Bill Burr.
That was my almost pick. I was very close to picking it, so I respect that that's his answer.
I respect any name on this list. And are we letting, is this, people are going to vote on this? So I'm going to suspect if it is a vote that the Chappelle crowd will come out hard.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Very, very possible.
Man, I look at this list. I mean, easily I would say Rogan, but he probably doesn't do as much stand-up as the other people. But he does own a club in Austin now that just immediately went to being one of the biggest clubs in the country. Man, I'd like to see Kreischer. The whole list is fantastic. I'm just going to say I got to go with Earl Douglas. He's the people's champion. He's funny. And I bet if Earl does win, he will not be available to come in for it.
No, of course not. He's going to be too busy to show up.
Go to the interrobang.com and vote for the biggest comedian of the last 10 years.
It's the 10th year that we're talking about the best of everything in comedy. So we have one last surprise bonus category to talk about. But before we do, don't forget to go vote. Go to the interrobang.com to vote for who should win in every category. This is exciting. This is our first ever time celebrating the Lockies, and that is the greatest episode of Lockdown this season.
Well, let me just tell you this. I have a huge feeling that these things are going to be historical documents. And I have a prediction that Chris Stanley is going to blow up massively next year, because I think that he needs to do the segments without the lockdown. I think what holds him back is the lockdown. And if he suddenly did some of these segments with just like current news, you know what I mean?
Yes.
They would play to people all over this country. So he's so talented, and these things are so great. And I hate that the stupid NFL gets drug into this. So many of these were so funny to me. Now, I will say this. Chris's own personal favorite was the Apocalypse Now from episode 2.
Yeah, God, it was so good. It was so genius. And I remember saying to him, like, this is art, dude. Like, what you made here is insane. Like, it's so good. Not to mention, like, the way he puts it together, the editing he does is shooting himself, but also the introduction of him doing the AI voiceover for each of these movies is just so brilliant and funny and weird and so surprising to us every week.
You know, when he did the Wes Anderson one, I thought that was good, but so many people have done Wes Anderson that I don't think it had the same impact, but he nailed it.
He did
Clockwork
great.
Orange, when he did the Clockwork Orange, that was phenomenal.
That might be my favorite of the season. Clockwork Orange was unbelievably good. And again, I had to say to him, like, okay, now like we're at another level, like, of creativity, what you're doing with this.
Now, the Stand By Me, I know it's fairly current, but it made me laugh so hard. And one part of it was just Chris's acting when he had that silly smile and he goes, "Not if I see you first." And he became like a little flirty in it. Right? You know what I mean? Like, it was really cute. But then when he turned around and he disappeared, and then I got the update that Earl had killed somebody at the Hard Rock, and then Chris told some children that he had to clean his chode. I mean, it went so many places for me. And then he also says, want to see a fat body instead of a dead body. God, he's talented. He's so fucking good.
He's so funny.
And he's been doing these with the year that we know that he's having. A disastrous personal life. And he's still crushing with these every single week.
I mean, the Lockinator made me laugh out loud. His Terminator 2 parody. I was laughing out loud for two moments. One, when you actually see the reveal of the cyborg was so funny. And then also the voiceover, which was so great, of her saying, Chris Stanley, my son. I laughed out loud. Like, why wouldn't she say that? Of course. But in my mind, like, it was so, like, out of left field that I was crying laughing at her saying Chris Stanley was her son.
You know, here's one too, and I'm not sure everybody got the references in this, but the Twi'lek zone that he did were like a perfect early 60s Twilight Zone.
Yes, it was so funny. And let me give a special shout out to one, because when Chris did this, he goes, I don't know, this one's going to be pretty weird, but it's really only for me and you, and we'll laugh, but maybe no one else will get it. And that was Les Miserables, the Les Miserables of him doing his topless, sad, crying performance, his cover of like the song from Les Mis was so funny and weird. And like, I think that people just didn't know what to make of it. I mean,
I'm one of those people, Gail. I had no idea what was going on. I didn't get the reference at all.
It was so weird. And you have to understand, this song is like about a woman who is beyond rock bottom, who has taken to prostitution to feed her children. And this is him doing his picks.
Okay.
That's where the darkness. It was
that is funny then.
Funny and nuts. I'm going to rewatch every single one of these after this conversation. They're so funny.
Now, can I tell you one that I know people love, but it infuriate me? That was the Bet the Parlay, bro. To take the long way home, because it's a 40-year-old song that wasn't even good then. And bet the parlay, bro. Bet the parlay, bro. And he didn't do any AI with it. Right. It wasn't a movie parody. It's just him being him. And then I'm like, I hate this. And then people were writing, I fucking love this, man. This is my favorite one.
His American Psycho parody was so good. It was so good. And fun fact, I think the woman who directed that also directed Best Christmas Ever. I'm pretty sure that's true.
Damn it, Earl. Remember how you embarrassed me? Remember how you humiliated me in front of the Soder family? Earl, do you have a favorite? You always think of yourself as being a cinema geek. I know you told me you were a doc head, and you watch every doc that ever comes out. Which most of them to me are not even good as a 60 Minutes episode. But what do you got for us, Earl?
The Fear and Loathing one was the Fear and Loathing.
Oh, shit.
That's a really good one.
Damn it. I forgot how much I loved that one.
Yeah, it's that really sweet scene from Fear and Loathing, too.
Yeah.
When he's remembering the high water mark of the 60s. And
I wish I could remember like the exact what Chris did with the high watermark line, but it was so funny at the time. I remember it was just killing me.
I think it had a lot to do with that winning streak that he had been on.
Right.
It was very, very strong all the way through. I don't think he had one where I went, oh, what a miss.
No,
you know?
They were all so funny.
Other than Bet the Parlay, bro.
Bet the Parlay, bro, is easily the worst one.
What did he do with the Big Lochtowski? I'm trying to even remember because, I mean, these are like, he's got like 15 of these already this year.
I feel like he did this scene where he's like walking through the supermarket.
Yeah. You're right.
It was very funny.
I wouldn't have the balls to just drink milk while I'm standing right in the supermarket.
No.
I just couldn't do it. It feels like I'd be arrested. You know, I don't need it, and I always have Coke in my boot.
I want to tell you about a fellow named Chris Stanley.
All right, guys, go over to theinterrobang.com to vote on these. It's been an amazing trip through this year in comedy, hasn't it, Gail?
It's been absolutely amazing. Everyone go out and vote. Head over to theinterrobang.com to let your voice heard and put your votes in. I believe you can vote once a day. If I'm not. So if you have someone who's very special comedian that you want to push, once a day you can log on and vote for them.
Oh, I didn't even realize that. Mm-hmm. And once again, Earl Douglas he just crushed it, Gail.
Yeah, he really did. I mean, I think all his picks are coming through.
And at one time, he just started trash talking me. You know what I mean? He's like, I can't be guarded, bro. I can't be guarded. Nobody can guard me. I can't even guard me. I can't stop me from scoring. I hate that kind of stuff. We thank everybody for being part of this year in comedy. Special thanks to Deb and everybody at the Interrobang.
Great job, Deb.
They do all the real work. Mm-hmm. And, of course, Deb really came through for us this year during the year of Chris Stanley.
Yes.
His lowest of the low.
Yeah.
So we appreciate everybody and appreciate you guys being here. Make sure you go to the Interrobang and vote. And we'll see you next year in 1970.
Hey guys, hey, so sorry I'm late. We're going to be doing roughly 15 minutes per category, and we're going to start with the special of the year. Where is everyone? Ron? Gail? Earl? Am I later for something than Earl is? Shit.
Father-daughter radio show in the history of radio. I'm Vito Calise, and I don't even work here. It's Ron Bennington. Gail Bennington.
Special first time ever Lockies Award for the best Lockdown segment of the year. Coming up, it's the best comedian of the decade and the Lockies.
Here.
Wow. Oh, man. I'm split between a couple. Who I would give this to. All right, let me give you my first.
Yeah.
Do you want me to give you my first instinct?
Here's what we'll do. We'll go through this and we'll make the case for and against.
Okay.
Or whatever you want to do. Anybody. Dave Chappelle right off the bat. Anybody bigger?
No, there's no one bigger. So it's very difficult. I would say like the only way to make a case against is to say, was his 10 years prior to that even bigger than these last 10 years? But it's hard to think of a bigger comedian than Dave Chappelle.
Pretty much a guy who can do whatever he wants.
Yeah.
And I'm literally talking about when you're hosting SNL, you're smoking a cigarette. And,
Right.
You know
right.
what I mean? And
literally defying laws.
Yes. Yeah. And everyone's just like, well, that's Dave. Dave's got to be Dave.
We got to let him do it.
Louis C.K. exploded in the last 10 years. And then he did something really interesting, I thought, which was branching out. I think he was the first to start that. I'm going to use myself to write other projects that I'm not even involved in.
Right.
And, you know, Baskets, Better Things. I mean, it just almost seemed like it was effortless for him to do this, as well as changing TV comedy with Louis, you know?
Right.
And he did that coming off Lucky Louie, which was considered, you know, a failure because it only went one season. But I feel like that laid out how he was going to do stuff his way. And even now, I mean, he was the first one who would, like, he released a TV series on his website. You know, he shot a movie and released it on his website.
He's certainly done some of the most unique creative things within comedy, and then even you know, just with film directing, TV writing, he's kind of always figured out a way to pivot.
And then also was probably the first one canceled, and then the first one to just keep selling tickets despite being canceled. I mean, when he goes out, the places sell out right away.
Yeah.
Amy Schumer, I mean, again, that
really
became bigger than life.
Bigger than life. I mean, all her movies within the last 10 years, she's like, probably you're going from inside Amy Schumer into like her, I'm going to say what, 3-4 big major motion pictures that she's in. Documentaries, tons of really big hit specials. Also, I think is important is just kind of like that household name that she could end up in the press and people know who she is, whether or not they follow comedy, is like beyond just being a comedy star, it's being a star. And I think she hit that place.
Bill Burr, the same kind of thing. He's basically running an empire now.
Bill Burr is a name that before you read, because this is a surprise category, before you read the list, I went, well, Bill Burr is a very strong possibility. Bill Burr in the last 10 years, again, not only stand-up and not only the way stand-up comedians feel about him, but film, TV, just, you know, become like his star just like rose massively in the last 10 years.
Now we're talking about a guy who goes through everything. Is Kevin Hart. Kevin Hart is in any type of stuff that you could do. I mean, he just got a thing of like a Manning cast for the NBA where he's sitting around talking while the game's on. It's crazy.
Right.
Like you would think, do you need to do that? You're already a movie star.
Right.
You know? He just keeps going.
And I think what percentage of Americans, if you just like polled on the street and said, name a comedic movie star working today, I feel like a large percentage is going to say Kevin Hart.
Yeah,
most
people that don't know comedy know
Yes.
Kevin Hart.
Yeah.
Bert Kreischer, I think what's interesting, if you go back 10 years, he was headlining clubs. And now headlines whatever he wants to headline.
Yes.
Huge places. Always fun. Bringing fun even before the funny.
Yeah.
Movie. I mean, he's just a tornado. He's just moving
He
through the
really
country
is.
like a comedy tornado. Jim Gaffigan, steady, strong,
Yep.
always putting out specials, always selling places out, doing it his way. Sarah Silverman, we already brought up before, what she's been able to do. And, you know, now, she goes back to the 90s, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like very early into the alt stuff. John Mulaney, terrific writer, does specials. The nice guy who became a drug addict and now talks about drug addiction, and people who don't even understand drug addiction will laugh at those jokes. Sebastian Maniscalco, again, 10 years ago, where was he?
Right.
Where is he today? Madison Square Garden. I mean, to me, he's the original Tommy Cutlets. He just makes the Italian people feel great, and he makes the non-Italians feel a little more Italian when they're listening and enjoying. And I'm going to add a name
Okay.
to a person who I think has created more comedy careers than anybody in history. And I'm gonna even put Johnny Carson in that. and I'm going to go Joe Rogan, who is single-handedly the
Very
biggest
true.
podcaster that ever lived. And as a guy who came up through traditional broadcasting, what Joe Rogan does was what we were taught would not work. You know what I mean?
Right.
You can't go through, talking about the UFC, talking about health issues, talking about drugs, talking about aliens. And he has turned his own personality into a format, right? The things
Right.
that interest him are now a standard format, and one that has been attempted to be copied, but I don't think anyone has even started to climb that hill in terms of, I'll talk about what I want to talk about. Today it's politics. Tomorrow I'm bringing in 4 comics and we're going to laugh our asses off. The next day I'm going to talk about UFC. The next day I'm going to talk about religion and is the pluses and minuses. I mean, it's just from a broadcasting point of view, it's left the people who professionally told everybody how to do that flat-footed. And they're not going to admit it, but they said that this couldn't happen.
And you're right, like not only just being a massive success and like again, household name kind of status, but also the way he kind of knights other comedians. Like anytime he pulls someone into his circle, it's like he's given this stamp of approval and then people reap the benefits of that. And that's like tremendous influence in comedy.
And, it's just not like, okay, he touches their forehead, so they're okay. They have to come in and grab that audience. And
Right.
if they leave with even a piece of it, they're ridiculously successful from that point on. So it doesn't happen to everyone, but it does happen to the people who are prepared to meet that challenge. Earl, when you look this over, who do you pick?
I'm going to go with Dave Chappelle because he just took it to the stratosphere to the point where his specials were events. They weren't just specials anymore. It's like, what is he going to say this time? And then when the specials do come out, they, people will cherry pick and really extract something that he said, and it goes viral and it's talked about relentlessly. So I'm going to go with Chappelle.
Yeah, Chappelle is pretty incredible what he's been able to do. And certainly under his own terms. People forget he walked away from a huge deal at Comedy Central because he didn't like the way it was going. And people forget this. He was considered literally crazy for doing that. People would talk, oh, did you hear Chappelle's in Africa wandering around in the jungle or something? Or Chappelle, just showed up someplace and people yelled stuff out and he refused to move. I mean, he just rebranded that whole thing. He just took the path he wanted to take until people decided that it worked. What about for you, Gail?
I'm sick over this decision because I'm picking between two. So I almost feel like as I talked it out, as we went through the nominees, I convinced myself which I'm going for. I'm going to go with Amy Schumer. And I'm going to go because of the TV shows, the movies, the documentaries, the political commentary, which has been constant from her, from, Israel, gun control. Like, I feel like people look to her now for her take on things. She has been just the amount of armor that she wears for negative attention. She's stayed so strong. And she's put out tons of great specials. And again, she's somebody who I know that people who don't know comedy go name a comedian, they're going to say Amy Schumer. You know what I mean? She's beyond a household name. She's beyond a comedy star. She's just a star. And this was really tricky because it was between her and someone else. But I feel like I've made my decision. It's Amy Schumer.
All right, Chris Stanley just sent me a text right now. Wow. He said, I didn't know we were going to do this. So let me go to this.
How is that a text message? How
What?
is his text message in an envelope? I can't take this anymore. He's driving me insane.
Oh, I'm sorry. I was opening up a Christmas present.
Okay, because it made it sound like you were opening a text message.
Okay, this is also listed as a Christmas and birthday present.
Oh, that's a cop-out.
I despise that. And it just says, you have 10 free hugs coming your way. Use them.
That's not a good gift.
I hate that gift.
That's an awful gift.
I hate when someone offers hugs. I don't even like to be hugged. I feel like I'm being attacked. Chris Stanley picked Bill Burr.
That was my almost pick. I was very close to picking it, so I respect that that's his answer.
I respect any name on this list. And are we letting, is this, people are going to vote on this? So I'm going to suspect, if it is a vote, that the Chappelle crowd will come out hard.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Very, very possible.
And I look at this list, I mean, easily I would say Rogan, but he probably doesn't do as much stand-up as the other people. But he does own a club in Austin now that just immediately went to being one of the biggest clubs in the country. Man, I'd like to see Kreischer. The whole list is fantastic. I'm just going to say I got to go with Earl Douglas. He's the people's champion. He's funny. And I bet if Earl does win, he will not be available to come in for it.
No, of course not. He's going to be too busy to show up.
Go to the interrobang.com and vote for the biggest comedian of the last 10 years.
This is exciting. This is our first ever time celebrating the Lockies, and that is the greatest episode of Lockdown this season.
Well, let me just tell you this. I have a huge feeling that these things are going to be historical documents. And I have a prediction that Chris Stanley is going to blow up massively next year, because I think that he needs to do the segments without the lockdown. I think what holds him back is the lockdown. And if he suddenly did some of these segments with just like current news, you know what I mean?
Yes.
They would play to people all over this country. So he's so talented, and these things are so great. And I hate that the stupid NFL gets drug into this. So many of these were so funny to me. Now, I will say this. Chris's own personal favorite was the Apocalypse Now from episode 2.
Yeah, God, it was so good. It was so genius. And I remember saying to him, like, this is art, dude. Like, what you made here is insane. Like, it's so good. Not to mention, like, the way he puts it together, the editing he does is shooting himself, but also the introduction of him doing the AI voiceover for each of these movies is just so brilliant and funny and weird and so surprising to us every week.
You know, when he did the Wes Anderson one, I thought that was good, but so many people have done Wes Anderson that I don't think it had the same impact, but he nailed it.
He did
Clockwork Orange, when he did the Clockwork Orange, that was phenomenal.
That might be my favorite of the season. Clockwork Orange was unbelievably good. And again, I had to say to him, like, okay, now like we're at another level, like, of creativity, what you're doing with this.
Now, the Stand By Me, I know it's fairly current, but it made me laugh so hard. And one part of it was just Chris's acting when he had that silly smile and he goes, "Not if I see you first." And he became like a little flirty in it.
Right?
You know what I mean? Like, it was really cute. But then when he turned around and he disappeared, and then I got the update that Earl had killed somebody at the Hard Rock, and then Chris told some children that he had to clean his chode. I mean, it went so many places for me. And then he also says, want to see a fat body instead of a dead body. God, he's talented. He's so fucking good.
He's so funny.
And he's been doing these with the year that we know that he's having. A disastrous personal life. And he's still crushing with these every single week.
I mean, the Lockinator made me laugh out loud. His Terminator 2 parody. I was laughing out loud for two moments. One, when you actually see the reveal of the cyborg, was so funny. And then also the voiceover, which was so great, of her saying, Chris Stanley, my son. I laughed out loud. Like, why wouldn't she say that? Of course. But in my mind, like, it was so, like, out of left field that I was crying laughing at her saying Chris Stanley was her son.
You know, here's one too, and I'm not sure everybody got the references in this, but the Twi'lek zone that he did were like a perfect early 60s Twilight Zone.
Yes, it was so funny. And let me give a special shout out to one, because when Chris did this, he goes, I don't know, this one's going to be pretty weird, but it's really only for me and you, and we'll laugh, but maybe no one else will get it. And that was Les Miserables, the Les Miserables of him doing his topless, sad, crying performance, his cover of like the song from Les Mis was so funny and weird. And like, I think that people just didn't know what to make of it. I mean,
I'm one of those people, Gail. I had no idea what was going on. I didn't get the reference at all.
It was so weird. And you have to understand, this song is like about a woman who is beyond rock bottom, who has taken to prostitution to feed her children. And this is him doing his picks.
Okay.
That's where the darkness. It was
that is funny then.
Funny and nuts. I'm going to rewatch every single one of these after this conversation. They're so funny.
Now, can I tell you one that I know people love, but it infuriate me? That was the Bet the Parlay, bro. To take the long way home, because it's a 40-year-old song that wasn't even good then. And get Bet the Parlay, bro. Bet the Parlay, bro. And he didn't do any AI with it.
Right.
It wasn't a movie parody. It's just him being him. And then I'm like, I hate this. And then people were writing, I fucking love this, man. This is my favorite one.
His American Psycho parody was so good. It was so good. And fun fact, I think the woman who directed that also directed Best Christmas Ever. I'm pretty sure Earl. That's true.
Damn it, Earl. Remember how you embarrassed me? Remember how you humiliated me in front of the Soder family? Earl, do you have a favorite? You always think of yourself as being a cinema geek. I know you told me you were a doc head, and you watch every doc that ever comes out, which most of them to me are not even good as a 60 Minutes episode. But what do you got for us, Earl?
The Fear and Loathing one was the Fear and Loathing.
Oh, shit.
That's a really good one.
Damn it. I forgot how much I loved that one.
Yeah, it's that really sweet scene from Fear and Loathing, too.
Yeah.
When he's remembering the high water mark of the 60s. And
I wish I could remember like the exact what Chris did with the high watermark line, but it was so funny at the time. I remember it was just killing me.
I think it had a lot to do with that winning streak that he had been on.
Right.
It was very, very strong all the way through. I don't think he had one where I went, oh, what a miss.
No, you know? They were all so funny.
Other than Bet the Parlay, bro.
Bet the Parlay, bro, you know, is easily the worst one.
What did he do with the Big Lochtowski? I'm trying to even remember because, I mean, these are like, he's got like 15 of these already this year.
I feel like he did this scene where he's like walking through the supermarket.
Yeah. You're right.
It was very funny.
I wouldn't have the balls to just drink milk while I'm standing right in the supermarket.
No.
I just couldn't do it. It feels like I'd be arrested. You know, I don't need it, and I always have Coke in my boot.
I want to tell you about a fellow named Chris Stanley. Coming up now, it's the best of Bennington.
Faction Talk 103, it's the Bennington Show. Faction Talk 103, it's the Bennington Show.
All right, I had this thought. All you guys feel like you're in a good relationship, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Maybe even have met your soulmate.
Yeah.
I'm wondering, how many people on the planet Earth do you think you could easily be soulmates with, or whatever we think of as soulmate? What percentage of the Earth? Now, already, you're going 50% unless you're bi. If you're bi,
So I'm 100.
this is even. If you're bi, this is even more of a mind fuck.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Fuck.
I think that, okay, here's where you start. Think about how many people you would even just like. So you've got to get rid of what percentage of people do you just think, I don't like that person?
Right.
Is that a large percentage for you? So those are out
Yeah.
right away. Then you're going to think of what percentage of people you just find just generally pleasant. And then who among those people could you just have a really nice life with?
Right.
You love each other. You care about each other. You're interested in what the other person does. You're attracted to each other. It feels like it could be pretty high number, I think.
But
yeah.
you have to think about the number that would like you back.
100%.
Okay. Yeah.
I'm a lot to deal with, but I could also deal with a lot with like a sugar mama situation.
That's not a soulmate.
Why
I could
are
make
you
it- I could make
obsessed
it
with
work.
sugar
Right.
daddies and sugar mamas. I'm not even going to mention why you kept
Why
saying
not?
sugar daddy before the show, but you're obsessed with sugar daddies and sugar
Gail,
mamas.
do not. Stop.
Here's the thing, Chris.
He said it 50
We're not
times.
asking who could you prostitute yourself with. I am saying
of money
how
we
many
talking?
people could you have the same kind of thing where you're like, yes, I could marry this person. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I think I could
it's a
date
lot.
and then marry. I think it's, and just think of how many fairy tales where they act like there's the one special person. Think of how many fucking people are in Asia alone.
Fuck.
Billions that you're never going to meet.
Never.
This is where I think it's interesting for me personally, is I actually think that my nature is if there's someone that I'm friendly with, there's already an attraction, because that's an attraction of I
That's
find
good.
you funny, you find me funny, we have things in common. So we're already like halfway there, really. Like, and it's more like I think I'm picky about people I would even be friendly with.
Mm-hmm.
Then you're going in that pool. I think that's a large amount of those
I think it's
people
a large amount.
that I could be like, yeah, we made a nice life together.
And guess what? So you would think, hey, even if you find somebody, you should keep looking. That doesn't even change your odds barely.
Right.
What I'm trying to say to you is this thing that feels like it's magic or whatever.
Yeah.
It's just regular.
I also think that for young people, if you come to understand this concept, it takes a lot of pressure off you.
It does.
Because I think that there is this thing, certainly for young women, and I don't know, maybe for young men too.
Not at all for young men.
But then, well, But here's the thing: if you go with that stereotype that people used to feed boys, like you got to sow your wild oats and you got to have a good time, and then you settle down and you find a bride. Suddenly they're like, I'm giving up my wild life for this. Like it puts the pressure on that
can't they
one
have both?
single person. No, that's not
Right?
what I'm saying.
Oh, okay.
I'm saying it puts, even though it's a different way of looking at it, I do think that there's probably pressure for heterosexual men to go, oh, this is the one lady I'm supposed to be choosing.
Right. It's fucking crazy.
Yeah. And I just feel like if you probably are fine. I mean, I know divorce rates are high, but I still feel like...
I think, you know why divorce rates are high? Because people think, oh my God, this isn't my perfect
Yes.
Oh,
one.
yeah.
And
You know?
they don't let people change. Like what was perfect to you when you were 20 is not going to be perfect to you when you're 40, and you can't hold that person to be like, why aren't you the same woman I married? Why aren't you the same man? I've lived a life.
You know what the other side of it is? People are like, you changed.
Mm-hmm.
They fucking hate when you don't change, and they hate when you do change. Mm-hmm. And I just mean people. People.
Mm-hmm.
I hold ways I change back. And then when I get asked, you got to change, then I bring it out, you know? You got to hold your cards.
Can I tell you something?
This is hilarious.
Why?
So like if you're like, I'm gonna like start doing the dishes more, you're gonna wait instead of just doing them. You're gonna wait and go, you never do the dishes, and then the week after that she goes, man, you really changed. You started doing the dishes even though you're kind of gonna do it.
I learned how to
anyway.
bake 6 months ago. Haven't cracked that skill out yet.
Can I tell you something? I have a fucking friend, and he had decided as an adult he wanted to learn a foreign language. And he did. But he waited until after he came out of a coma to break it out.
What?
And the news people fell for it like there was no tomorrow.
Metro?
I feel like a fucking idiot.
Science alert?
Why did I believe that story?
Riding on the metro, Chris.
Fuck that publication.
You believed it.
You know what could be a new game show for us that we could play? Somebody starts singing a song, and then we'll see how much time it takes for Chris to get that song up and playing.
Why do you not like this game, Chris?
Bortle.
Bored. How fast do you think if I sang a song, you would be able to find it and get it up?
Give me... Is you humming it or singing lyrics?
I'm going to sing the lyrics. I'm going to make it an easy enough song for you.
Okay.
It's not going to be a song that you're not fucking used to.
Okay. Give me 7 seconds.
No fucking way.
No.
No way.
Do you even play Hurdle?
No, I don't play Hurdle.
Well, that's pretty much the idea, and I don't think that you're going to be the type of person who can
I'm
get it in
going
7
to train Rowie on Hurdle.
It's not something to train on.
Rowie's starting at the end of the month?
End of the month, yes. To work out his schedule. I'm getting a lot of texts about it.
Can't wait to have my new best
Did
friend.
he text you that he couldn't get in last night?
Yes, he did.
That's the thing that I asked you about. I tried to at the beginning of the show.
He texted me a bunch last night, so so there was multiple things.
Do you have any fucking control over your staff?
Well, first of all, there's like a middleman between me and the new intern staff coming on, and they didn't let me know that they had reached out to Rowie. So then Rowie's reaching out to you, Ron.
Wait a minute. What are you talking about?
So there's like an intern department, and then there's me, or I do the interns with the.
So,
interviews.
in other words, they hired Rowie before telling you, and then Rowie said, "I'm your new intern." Can
Yes.
I didn't know that. I thought you hired Rowie.
Well, I gave them the okay, but I didn't know they had reached out to him yet. Like I don't know what their process is and their timing.
Kurt in North Carolina. Kurt.
Hey guys, I feel very passionate about the whole soulmate thing. I come from a real small town in the Midwest, and I have a bunch of friends that were high school sweethearts,
Oh, yeah?
and they got married, and they always talk about how they're soulmates. I'm like, no, you're not. It's a proximity thing. I'm like, we had such a small pool of fish, and you had to wind up with somebody. It's
Right.
nothing to do with love. It was convenience.
And like, what I'm saying is, I agree with you, and also that's okay. Like, I think that they probably could have an okay life with someone that they, were maybe their neighbors as a kid, or they could find somebody who lives in China and then be like, oh, this guy is wonderful to me. I don't know.
See,
Yeah.
We're
here's
really
the
getting
thing. I guess if you were looking at it like soulmates, like it was mystical, you could say we were put in the same area to meet each other.
Sure.
We both worked at the same Burger King and then fell in love. I mean, if you think of how many times school and work were the things that brought people together, it's stunning.
Yes, I'm work.
Work.
Friends, like mutual friend. No, met at a party.
So just drinking, just alcohol.
So you were
They're
crashed
drinking
a
in
party,
the
you
same
didn't know
place.
anyone there, and she didn't know anyone there.
What about you, Veets?
Bar.
Okay, that's disgusting.
At least mine was a house party.
This could be a nice How I Met Your Mother episode.
When you think about the numbers and you think about like a dating app, and you think about the amount of people that are dating and using apps, you're competing against more people at the same time than ever before.
Yeah.
Because like
Right.
you're going on a date with somebody, and she's conceivably talking to like 25 other people.
Right. She's getting the preliminary part of a date with 25 other people.
Yeah.
And do you pass the test of getting to the next level? And she's not going to go on 25 dates in the
No.
same week. So
No.
she's like, maybe one or two of these guys.
And some of those guys are probably sugar daddies.
Did I?
Can't take it.
I don't know if I told you guys this, but I went on a date with a girl that was like, she was like, hey, heads up, I am a sugar baby for somebody. I'm going on I have my like second date with them tomorrow, but I just wanted to be upfront about it with you. And I was like, I wish you brought this up hours ago. Like, I would have loved to hear more about this. So then she told me, she was like, yeah, like he just buys me stuff. There's no sex involved. We're meeting for the first time tomorrow. He's a married businessman. And like, so far he's just sent me money.
That
wrong
almost
with that?
seems, by the way, a little like that's almost more annoying. Like, could you imagine that you're like, I'm looking at the credit card bills and my husband is cheating on me, and then finally he's like, you caught me, but I haven't had sex with her. I just buy her like super expensive shit.
thank God.
You'd be like,
Here's her
"Fuck
Amazon
you."
gift list, wish list.
That's so
Sorry, honey.
annoying.
All right, here's the funny thing. What sounds worse, to be a sugar daddy or a sugar baby? You know what I mean?
I mean, I like the idea of
the
being the
sugar-
baby.
The sugar daddy sounds like, oh, he's an older guy. And
Yeah.
he's kind of lonely, and he knows the only thing he brings to the table. But it's sad almost. But a sugar baby is like, he's disgusting, but he gives me money.
Like, for example, if I choose sugar baby, am I too old to be a sugar baby?
No.
I'm not.
No.
Are you sure? It
Yeah,
just seems
because
like you have to be very young.
you don't have to be young or even old. You just have to be in those power positions.
Okay.
Like a sugar mama. I guess would that guy be considered a sugar baby?
Yes, the dude
Yeah.
would be the sugar baby. Yeah.
Okay,
It's
so
a
it's just,
genderless term.
yeah, it's just a role play.
Right. Got it. So you just need to be poor to be the baby.
You just want that sugar.
Yeah.
That's all. You just want that.
I'm poor. Help me.
Yeah, I'm poor.
I'm gonna fuck you.
No, we're doing a line from a fucking movie, and you just were so weird.
Oh my god! I just had a white light laugh. The worst kind of laugh that you can get.
Dude, we're literally doing a line for Bridesmaids when she's on the plane.
I've only seen
and
it
she
once.
Goes, help me, I'm poor. And
I've
then
only
you
thought. I
just
thought it was
said
Miller's
that.
Crossing.
Paul Feig is our friend, and we love having him on the show.
I love the movie.
Oh my god.
Then why only see it once, Chris? Why only see it
I
once?
suck.
I wouldn't be mad finding out that my girlfriend was a sugar baby. I would be mad if I found out she was a sugar mama because, like Gail said, the money situation. But finding out she's just getting money for like feet pics and stuff, I don't give a shit. Just spread the wealth. That's all.
She's a sugar mama. She's got the cash to fucking throw around. You know.
We have just walked into Chris's trap. I hope you know this, that he was talking 20 minutes before the show about sugar daddy, and we couldn't get through it without him.
I knew it would be a great sloppy toppy.
Chris would be a good sugar baby because he wouldn't mind any of the dirty talk. Like he would just be doing the show, being like, "Yeah, I'm licking your pussy right now."
You like that?
God.
Here's the thing.
Shug? I'll call him my
Here's
sugar
the thing,
daddy.
if
Shug.
you're a sugar baby, she's not even like buying you expensive gadgets. She's just buying you actual sugar.
Jewel
I got you
pods.
some more donuts, Chrissy.
4XL ramen shirts.
Come on. A, that's a hoodie. It's 3X and it's soy sauce.
I thought that was your bank Santander, as you call it.
No, this is Santoro. I don't know.
He just wants a pack of sugar babies to throw into his mouth and chill him up.
He's like, wait, we can get money from this? I was just getting actual sugar babies.
Sugar babies, I think, is a candy that you can't eat after the age of like 9.
No, absolutely
It's pure
not.
sugar.
If someone had them right now and offered me them, I would say absolutely not.
Yeah.
It's not worth the pain.
I wonder if they've seen any uptick with all the sugaring going on.
Sugar
amongst
baby's
people.
been around for years, man. This isn't a new thing. And I mean the concept, not just the candy.
No, but it's hot right now.
It's so hot.
hot to
Because you're on
you.
TikTok? You fucking algorithm slave?
They tell you what you like, though.
Fuck.
Dude, that whole thing gave me the scariest kind of laugh that you could get. Like when you're laughing so hard that you think you could pass out in front of everybody.
And then, yeah, what did it for you when we said, help me, I'm poor, and then Chris just went, thank me. It was so weird. What a weird thing.
It was one thing that he said it, but then when you busted him, I was fucking dying.
Fuck me.
Fuck me in my poo-poo.
What the hell, dude?
You sick fuck.
You really are.
I don't think so. I mean, you know.
Chris with his clothes bother like the way that he doesn't know anything that he's wearing at any time reminds me of like children. Like sometimes when I'm like coaching kids and they're wearing a shirt, I don't know their name and I'll fucking reference them by the shirt they're wearing and they'll just be like, I have no idea what you're talking about.
My mom bought this one.
I don't know what shirt I'm wearing right now. I don't know what this movie is. And Chris is the same way.
I know everything I'm wearing all the time.
Are you still coaching kids?
Yeah, I've been picking up more weekends because I'm saving up that Italy money.
How do you think kids have been handling this era? Do they seem worse or they seem the same?
I mean, I feel like they understand the concept of sports less than I've ever seen.
Yeah.
Like they have no idea how to play like a team sport anymore because for 2 years they weren't interacting.
What kind
with
of
each
games
other.
you got them playing?
Well, like baseball. If a kid has a baseball party, it's usually the kid whose birthday loves baseball.
Yeah.
And then I'm teaching 20 other children at the same time how to play baseball.
It's impossible to teach kids how to play baseball.
Yeah.
I truly believe that.
Same with soccer. It's like one kid likes soccer. All of his other friends are just attacking one kid with a ball.
Yeah. At least like that, the ball can move back and forth and they think they're playing.
Right.
But with baseball, they're like, the ball rolled past me.
I just had this weekend trying to explain baseball to Juju. And as I started to do it, I go, man, this is much more involved than saying you run and put the ball in the net. She understands basketball. She sees what they're doing.
Right.
And as I'm starting to explain, I'm like, there's a lot of elements to this.
Right.
It's a lot.
That's a foul?
Right.
No, we're talking base hits. Base hits.
What you really need to do with like little kids is just give them a wiffle ball bat, get in the backyard and just keep swinging it. Then the next summer, you know what? We might try this with a wooden bat.
Right.
And I'm going to pitch to you. Then after like a couple years like that, when they're like 7 or 8, you're like, there's ways that you just don't play the whole field. Like you play a part of the field.
Right.
You know what I mean? And then you can start teaching the game. But it takes just a lot of banging around before that. And the kids don't have that opportunity to just go out and play stupid for a couple years.
Right. And there's a stillness to baseball that doesn't exist in, say, soccer or basketball.
Yeah.
Where you're just like, oh, kids run to this side, kids run to that side. Like, you really have to learn about a stillness and watching for the ball and waiting for your moment.
I mean, I really would not be able to explain to somebody of how to get the jump on the ball when it comes off a bat. You know what I mean? Right. I don't know how you would say, oh, you're going to be able to tell from right field whether that ball is coming to your left or right.
Yeah.
And if you watch baseball, they're there when the ball is coming down. I mean, it's things that we consider an easy fucking can of corn.
Right.
You have to do it 1,000,000 times before you get to that.
The concept of teaching a kid like catching a ball in a mitt is so foreign to them because you're putting something on their hand.
Right.
And then it's like you can't use your hand, you have to use this thing.
Also, when you get a kid behind the plate, they naturally want to throw in their right hand. You have to tell them, no. You got to keep that behind your back. You got to hold
that
up.
makes
Yeah,
sense.
because you just want to use both hands to catch it.
Yeah.
And there's a bat there. And kids are also reaching. You got to wait for the ball. You can't reach like you do at any other time.
I was explaining the mitt to Juju, and then she said, I'm just going to use stickers on my hands. So she put a sticker on her hand.
Okay, perfect.
And I was like, okay, it has an actual function, but sure. So she's like trying to catch it with her sticker hand, and then she started to do something and then wanted to play basketball, and she goes like this, oh, I guess I have to take these stickers off. These are for baseball. And I was like, well, not really. That's just something you made up.
Going to take my baseball stickers off. Playing all the sports this year. That was the other thing in this thing about excellence, too, that you would like, Vito, is like you would take these guys like Wayne Gretzky, and he's like, oh, no. When the seasons changed, I put on baseball and started playing fucking baseball. I played a different sport each day. They didn't play year-round sports, and now they force. And the other thing he was saying, when they go, how much should I have my son practice? How much? And he goes, even asking that question, it's the wrong question. It's like, can you stop your son from practicing? That's the kid that's going to move on. The kid who doesn't think that he's being forced to do it.
Right.
You know what I mean? It'd be like saying to Chris Stanley, like if I was Chris's dad, how many packs of cigarettes should my son be smoking a day? You know what I mean? I'm trying to get him to 3, but he wants to stop at 2. He's not going to make it as a smoker like that. When you were smoking, what do you think the most cigarettes you smoked a day?
Okay, I know exactly the day, and it was very shortly before I quit smoking. It was a Sunday, and I smoked 3.5 packs of cigarettes of Marlboro Reds.
That's a lot.
Yeah. And it was just in my apartment in Astoria, and it was just like, well, I thought...
First of all, before we're saying aloud, it's only 70 cigarettes.
Oh, God.
When I was a smoker, I was a pack a day for a regular day, and then pack and a half to like plus that, maybe in like a bad day. That would be like a really bad day.
Sure.
My mom hasn't smoked since the heart attack.
That's amazing.
But before that, she would smoke like a pack and a half a day, but she didn't smoke like a normal person. This woman would literally take 1 or 2 puffs, barely inhale, and then throw it away.
A lot of people do that.
And like she's barely smoking, but the amount of money she's spending on fucking cool cigarettes.
Yeah.
They are cool, huh?
Cool menthol.
Smoke what you are. That's what we used to say.
We'll be right back. Faction Talk 103, The Bennington Show. Faction Talk 103, it's The Bennington Show.
Thank you.
Nice to see you here tonight. You're a guy, even as a little kid, you love comedy.
Oh,
You
yeah.
know,
Yeah, the first comedy I was ever exposed to was Bill Cosby. And a friend of mine, Jeff Drew, who I grew up with, he had all of Cosby's records. And I think I was like in 2nd and 3rd grade, and we used to just sit and listen to Cosby just over and over again, just wearing out the vinyl.
He's so great that we've almost forgotten it, you know?
No, to me, the 3 titans, like timeless, are Carlin and Cosby and Pryor. Those are the 3 guys that I learned about really quickly and loved. And to this day, they're exactly as funny.
And for some reason, though, with Cosby, people are like, well, he's so mainstream that somehow, like, maybe that's easier.
But as a stand-up, he was just incredibly good. Just really, really great. The timing.
And still is. I mean,
still is, yeah.
I saw him not too long ago on Letterman, and he came out and was just murdering. And he's, I guess, well into his 70s now.
Yeah, and I think people, I mean, I used to study him when I was a kid, and I still do. Like every time I've done a special that was important to me, I go back and look at him because he had great technique and he was like a jazz musician, you know.
Right.
He's a guy, he would keep the microphone at his knee. Like a lot of us, like I came up with young 80s guys, and Kinnison was the big one when I started. So I'd eat the mic and scream into it, you know, and not let up. you know, and but he keeps the mic at his knee and talks at a normal voice, and then when he wants to, he does this. And he knows the power of the different ranges and stuff, so.
See, I would think that would be a little scary to look at other stand-ups before you did your special because you don't want to pick up inflections or...
Well, I don't think it happens to me because I'm looking at really the mechanics, like really the underlying, like how are you using silence, and some of it is just inspiration, you know.
I think Chris Rock is another person who believes in watching public speakers, and you do that as well. And people forget that it is public speaking. So as a young person, as a kid, you're listening to this stuff, you're kind of studying it, and you said to yourself, this is what I want to do, or was that too far off of it?
No, I didn't know you could. I didn't know you could be something like that, a comedian. I didn't know that there was a road to it, but I really did want to. When I was in fourth grade, and we had the Gong Show was big on television then, so we had a Gong Show, and I did stand-up. I told jokes. I juggled... two balls and an apple and ate the apple and then told bad jokes. That was my first time performing.
Yeah. And how did it feel to you? Was it
I loved it. I completely loved it. And so I thought, God, Carlin and those guys, they're just talking in great circles. I don't know if I could do that. But when I saw Steve Martin, I thought, I'm weird inside my head like he is.
Well, were you funny with your buddies? Did all your buddies act like you're hysterical?
Yeah, somewhat. I was kind of this little dumpy fat kid. And I wasn't succeeding in anything as a kid. I didn't see anything that I would be really good at. I guess I made people laugh when I was a kid.
Yeah.
I remember a huge laugh I got in, I think it was like third grade or something, and the teacher was talking about the different parts of the skull. You know, the skull has like 2-3 bones in it. I don't remember what they are. And the teacher said, does anybody know the other one? And I said, the noggin. And they laughed a lot.
Yeah. It's like the greatest thing to get those laughs in school, too, when you're not supposed to.
No, the first time I really killed, I was in 5th grade, and we did Free to Be You and Me, the hippie fucking liberal play.
Right.
And, which I didn't know at the time I was being used for hippie purposes, but... we had a really mean teacher who was really tough, and I grew to like her, but she would like the instant the kids were leaving, she'd light a cigarette. Like you always smelled cigarettes when you walked out of a room. She was so stressed out. So she made us do Free to Be You and Me, and she told me to do a poem called Don't Put Your Horse in a Nightgown. It's an absurd poem. And I had to stand in front of the curtain, like in vaudeville when somebody does a solo act, while they're setting something up and do this poem. And I couldn't remember it. And every rehearsal, I'd start, don't put your, and she'd go, louder! And she'd scream at me and say, if you don't know this, you're gonna look like an idiot, and you're gonna ruin the play. And I was so scared, and I drilled it and tried to memorize it, and then I came out for the play, and I'm looking at everybody's parents and the whole school, and I took a breath to start talking, and I just started fucking laughing. And they laughed. And then I and I started laughing again. And I was up there for like 10 minutes just laughing. And the place was going nuts. It was like a huge, and I walked off, just huge applause. And I went backstage and all the other kids were, you ruined the show. You ruined it. You're awful. You stink. And nobody would talk to me for about a week after that.
So, was it tough being up there where you're like, hey, I'm getting laughs through my own personality?
I was high off my head, and I loved it. I felt bad when the kids hated me for it.
Sure.
There was part of me inside going, fuck you little faggots. Fucking I just killed. What did you do?
Yeah.
Pretending to be a baby and know everybody was yawning, asshole.
You know, nobody wants to see the other performer kill. It's always rough, even at a young age.
Yeah, nobody wants to follow that. Exactly.
So in school, were you the class clown? Were you the wise ass?
Not really. I had ADD a lot, I think, or I don't know. I don't think it's that simple. But I was just, I was a bad student, and I fell asleep a lot. I had low energy. I was kind of fat, sugar, low energy. And I remember being depressed a lot. So I wasn't that funny to other kids, I don't think.
Really?
Yeah.
But in the back of your mind, you said, I want to do this. How did you get up on stage the first time?
I was in high school, and I was listening to the radio, to WBCN in Boston, and they used to have 5 o'clock funnies. And so they had a guy on named Chance Langton, who was a comedian in Boston, and just local. I didn't know there was local comedy. I thought it was just those huge guys with albums. And all of a sudden I'm listening to this guy who's really funny. And then they came on and said, that's Chance Langton. You can see him this weekend at whatever, at the Comedy Connection. And by the way, if you go to Stitches on Com Ave on Sunday nights, you can go on, anybody can go on. It was open mic night. Just show up and sign up. And so I started to try to think of 5 minutes. And I thought I had an hour of amazing material. Like, I literally thought, like, I've got so much shit, and I'm gonna go up and blow them away, and I'm gonna be a star tomorrow, like next week. Like, I'm making my plans. I don't have to do any homework. I mean, I'm gonna be a huge star. Because I also pictured I'd be the only one, and I pictured all these like a guy with a cigar. Who's the new kid? You know, and all this. I'd be like, this is the kid, and all these grown-up comics would be like. But I get there's a line of really competent comedians who are just doing open mic night.
Right.
And there was a lot of competition. But I got on stage, and I did a minute and a half to total silence. Every single thing I did was a terrible idea. Just total. And also, I'm looking at a bunch of grown-ups drinking. These are like people in their 20s and 30s, like Boston fucking bar drunks. And I'm trying to make them laugh, and it was one of the worst things to date that's ever happened to me. Was the first time I ever went on stage, and I was so ashamed. And
do you remember any of the jokes or anything that you were doing?
Yeah, I can't. I remember all of it. I remember the whole set.
But it's kind of like I just asked you, hey, tell me about the time you were molested when you were
exactly. Oh, well, like you could just I was about 14 and my dad fucked me in the ass. I think it must have been fall because it was, the Red Sox were in the playoffs, so I remember, and I jizzed on my face. And I said,
I think it's good to have some scars that don't heal.
No, absolutely.
The pain is still there.
To me, that's what started a pattern of my whole life, which is survival of failure. Mm-hmm. And I think if you can go to places and fail and come out intact, you've got a huge wealth of information.
Sure.
Bombing is much more instructive than when you kill. You just go, all right, look at me.
Yeah.
You don't learn anything. You don't even remember why you killed.
Yeah.
You just go, oh, it was great, because I'm great. That's why.
Yeah.
But when you bomb, it's like a murder happened to you, and there you've got data, you got evidence. It's like forensics.
CSI now. Right?
Yeah, and you walk around poking things with a pencil and you go, well, if you hadn't said this after that, it wouldn't have gone so bad. And you have a huge wealth of information.
Yeah, it is really funny at that stage where you go back and go, I came out with the wrong attitude immediately, mm-hmm. and then mm-hmm. you don't have the skills to pick it back up.
Exactly.
You know? And when the audience sees the lack of confidence.
Oh, they just pounce with hatred. They were so mean, too, and it was just awful. I mean, just with silence. I felt they were mean with silence. They didn't do it. They didn't make a noise. Nobody heckled, but I hated them. I felt really hateful towards the audience, and I tried it one more time. And I wasn't going to do it, but Kevin Meaney, who was a comic in Boston at the time, I worked at a video store, and he used to come in and rent videos. And so I got to know him, and I told him that I had tried stand-up. And he said, oh, you got to come do my show. And he had a show called the Sweeney Meaney Show, which was the biggest show in Boston. He said, you got to come on my show. And I said, oh, I've only done it once, and it was bad. Let me get good at it. And he goes, no, I want you now. Because it's comedy tragedy. I want to watch you bomb on my show. And I went and did his show, and it was packed, and people were so excited. And him and Sweeney did this "We Are the World" thing that it was just destroyed. And then they brought me on, and I equally worsely bombed. And I can't describe how horrible that felt. And I was 18, and I knew I wasn't going to go to college. And so I'm like, well, I can't be a comedian. That's not going to work.
Right.
It was really depressing.
It is.
I didn't do stand-up for almost a year after the second time.
I mean, now, looking back on it, you would expect it, because it's almost like you put on some shoulder pads and a helmet and walked out with the Patriots.
Yeah,
you know?
exactly.
I think I can play this.
Yeah, I can do this. And
Have you ever played? No, I watched a lot, though. And I think I'm ready.
Exactly. And I was a kid. I was this. Somehow I got skinny in those years of my life. So I was this weird skinny kid with a big head. looking nervous. I mean, the only thing worse than being me would have been watching me in the audience. I think. There's probably still people in those two audiences that, like, once in a while go, "Oh God, that was that kid. That was awful," and they remember it as well as I do.
And then they'll see you on Letterman or something.
Yeah, they go,
now.
"No, that's not the same guy.
Can't be.
That's not the same guy."
That odd kid. But you came up with a good point. Like any thinking person, any person that could learn would go, I can't do this. I won't go back.
Yeah.
What is it about you that said, I got to go back there?
I guess I looked back at the pain of it and I thought, well, I did it. It hurt, but I survived it. Well, what really happened was like almost a year after the second time, I went to this place in Boston, and in Cambridge, really, this place in Central Square, the Cambridge kind of Harvard weird hippie area. They had a place called the Off the Wall Cinema, which showed old movies and weird movies. And I used to go there. And they had comedy night every Saturday at midnight. So I went to that, and it was a totally different crop of comedians. They were just weird. It was hosted by a guy named Ron Lynch, who's just a really strange, esoteric comic. And they were really offbeat, like Steve Martin was. And I thought, oh, that I can do. So I begged him, I just went up to the host and said, please let me go on here. And he said,